Hey warriors, you opened your eyes this morning. That alone is a miracle. But somewhere between waking up and facing the mirror, you forgot. You forgot that you're worthy. You forgot that you matter. You forgot that the most important love story of your life isn't out there. It's right here with you. Self-love. Two simple words that hold the power to transform everything. Yet for most of your life, you've been taught that loving yourself is selfish, that putting yourself first is wrong, that caring for your own heart is somehow less important than caring for everyone else's. So, you gave and gave until you were empty. You prioritized others until you disappeared. You loved everyone except the one person who needed it most, you. Today, that narrative ends. Today, you remember. Today, you reclaim the most sacred relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Because everything in your life flows from this single source. Your peace, your joy, your boundaries, your dreams, your relationships, all of it begins with how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength begins with how you speak to yourself. It begins with recognizing that you're worthy, not because of what you accomplish or how others see you, but simply because you exist. Self-love is waking up and choosing kindness toward yourself before you choose anything else. It's saying no without guilt. It's resting without shame. It's feeding your soul the way you'd care for someone you deeply cherish. Because you are that someone. You've always been. This isn't about perfection. It's about acceptance. It's about looking at your reflection and saying, "I see you. I hear you. I'm staying." Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Self-love is the gentle hand that catches you when you stumble. The voice that says, "Try again," instead of "give up." So today, let this message sink deep into your bones. Let it remind you that loving yourself isn't the destination. It's the journey. Every day, you get to choose it again. Every morning, you get to begin again. And the more you practice this sacred act of self-love, the more you'll realize you were never too much or not enough. You were always exactly what you needed to be. Before we go deeper, I need you to do something for me. If this message is already touching your heart, hit that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you're ready to transform your mornings and your life, subscribe to this channel. Don't skip a single part of this video. Stay with me. Your soul needs this. If your heart just said yes, type this now. I am worthy of my own love. Number 1. The mirror of truth. Every morning you pass by mirrors. Sometimes you glance, sometimes you stare, sometimes you look away. But how often do you really see yourself? Not the surface, not the imperfections you've been trained to focus on, but the soul behind the eyes. The heart that's been beating for you since day one. The spirit that's carried you through every storm. Self-love begins with honest seeing. It begins when you stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. It begins when you stop using other people's definitions of beauty, success, and worth to measure yourself. The world has given you 1,000 mirrors that distort your reflection, making you believe you're not enough until you look a certain way, achieve certain things, or receive certain validations. But here's the truth that will set you free. You are already whole, not broken, not incomplete, not waiting to become worthy. You are worthy now, in this moment, exactly as you are. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, "No one can hurt you without your consent, and that includes you. You cannot hurt yourself with harsh judgments and cruel self-talk without your own consent." Today, you withdraw that consent. Stand in front of that mirror differently today. Look into your own eyes and recognize the warrior looking back. That person has survived 100% of their worst days. That person has kept going when giving up seemed easier. That person has loved, lost, stumbled, risen, tried again. That person deserves your respect, your compassion, your love. The mirror of truth isn't about ignoring areas where you want to grow. It's about seeing the whole picture. Yes, you have flaws. Everyone does. Yes, you've made mistakes. Everyone has. But you also have strengths that are uniquely yours. You have a laugh that brightens rooms. You have hands that create, comfort, and build. You have a mind full of thoughts that matter. You have a presence that impacts others in ways you'll never fully know. When you practice self-love, you practice accurate seeing. You stop magnifying your weaknesses while minimizing your strengths. You stop giving yourself the harshest criticism you'd never give a friend. You start treating yourself with the same grace you extend to others. You start believing that your needs matter, your feelings are valid, and your dreams are worth pursuing. This doesn't mean you become arrogant or self-absorbed. True self-love is humble. It recognizes that you're human, beautifully flawed, doing your best with what you have. It recognizes that you're learning, growing, evolving. It recognizes that some days you'll shine and some days you'll struggle, and both versions of you deserve love. The mirror of truth also means facing what you've been avoiding. Maybe it's acknowledging that you're tired and need rest. Maybe it's admitting that a relationship is draining you. Maybe it's recognizing that you've been living someone else's dream instead of your own. Self-love gives you the courage to face these truths without falling apart. It gives you the strength to say, "This needs to change, and I'm worth the effort it takes to change it." Start today with this practice. Look at yourself and say 3 kind truths out loud. Not generic compliments, but genuine recognitions. I showed up today even though it was hard. I was kind to that stranger. I'm learning to set boundaries. Let your own voice be the first voice of encouragement you hear each day. The world will give you plenty of criticism. It will point out your flaws, your failures, your shortcomings. But when you look in the mirror and choose to see yourself through eyes of love, you build an inner fortress that no external judgment can penetrate. You build a foundation of self-worth that doesn't crumble when life gets hard. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Confine yourself to the present." The mirror of truth isn't about dwelling on past versions of yourself or anxiously awaiting future versions. It's about loving who you are right now, in this present moment. Because this present moment is all you truly have. And the you that exists right now is deserving of your love. So, look again. See yourself clearly. See yourself kindly. See yourself truly. And let that vision guide how you treat yourself for the rest of this day. See yourself clearly. See yourself kindly. Comment, "I see my true worth." Number 2. The garden you tend. Your mind is a garden. Every thought you plant is a seed. Every belief you water becomes a tree. Every pattern you repeat creates the landscape of your inner world. And right now, if you look around that garden honestly, what do you see? Is it blooming with flowers of kindness or overrun with weeds of self-doubt? Are you planting seeds of possibility or letting thorns of old pain take over? Self-love is the act of becoming a conscious gardener of your own mind. It's recognizing that you have more control than you think over what grows inside you. You can't control every seed that lands in your garden. Life throws plenty at you without permission. But you absolutely control which ones you water, which ones you nurture, and which ones you pull out by the roots. For too long, maybe you've been watering the wrong things. Watering the voice that says you're not good enough. feeding the belief that you're behind everyone else, nurturing the fear that you'll never change. These are weeds disguised as truth, and they've been choking out the beautiful things trying to grow in you. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Your mind will create gardens of suffering if you let it run wild without care. But when you practice self-love, you become intentional. You start asking, is this thought helping me grow or holding me back? Is this belief serving me or harming me? Does this pattern deserve my energy? Think about how you speak to yourself in moments of failure. When you make a mistake, do you say, "I'm so stupid, I always mess things up"? Or do you say, "That didn't go as planned, but I'm learning"? The difference isn't just semantics. It's the difference between planting poison and planting nourishment. Self-love means catching those harsh words before they take root and replacing them with truth that helps you grow. This doesn't mean toxic positivity. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. A good gardener doesn't ignore the weeds or pretend the drought isn't happening. They face reality and work with it. Self-love is honest. It says, yes, I'm struggling right now, and I'm going to be gentle with myself through it. It says, this is hard, and I'm allowed to feel this, and I'm still worthy of care. Your garden also needs pruning. There are relationships that drain you, commitments that exhaust you, habits that no longer serve you. Self-love gives you permission to cut away what's dead, so new growth can happen. This isn't selfish. This is survival. A tree that refuses to drop its dead branches will eventually collapse under their weight. You are allowed to let go of what's weighing you down. And here's what's beautiful. When you tend your inner garden with love, it affects everything around you. People feel the difference. They notice your peace. They're drawn to your authenticity. They see someone who respects themselves enough to protect their energy, and it gives them permission to do the same. Your self-love becomes an invitation for others to love themselves too. Start paying attention to your self-talk today. Notice when you're planting weeds. Stop mid-thought if you need to, and replant something kinder. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't do this," pause and ask, is that true, or is that fear talking? When you hear, "I'm not as good as them," stop and ask, why am I comparing my journey to theirs? Feed your mind the way you'd feed a beloved garden. Give it sunlight through time in nature. Give it water through rest and stillness. Give it nutrients through books, conversations, and experiences that make you grow. Pull the weeds by questioning negative patterns. Plant new seeds by trying things that scare you, by speaking kindly to yourself, by believing in your own potential. Remember, a garden doesn't bloom overnight. You won't transform your mind in a day, but every morning you wake up and choose to tend it with love, you're creating change. Every time you replace a harsh thought with a gentle one, you're planting new possibility. Every time you say no to what drains you and yes to what fills you, you're making space for beauty to grow. Your mind is the only garden you'll tend for your entire life. Make it a place you want to live. What will you nurture today? Affirm it. I choose what I nurture. Number 3, the permission you've been waiting for. You've been waiting for permission. Permission to rest when you're tired. Permission to say no without a long explanation. Permission to choose yourself without feeling guilty. Permission to want more, to dream bigger, to take up space. You've been standing at the door of your own life, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to walk through. Here's what you need to hear. You don't need anyone's permission to love yourself. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to wait until you're thinner, richer, more successful, or more together. You don't need your parents' approval, your partner's validation, or society's stamp of worthiness. The permission you've been waiting for can only come from one person, you. Self-love is radical permission. It's giving yourself the green light to exist as you are. to need what you need, to feel what you feel. It's releasing yourself from the prison of other people's expectations. It's understanding that you're allowed to change your mind, change your path, change your life, even if it disappoints someone else. Think about how much energy you've spent seeking approval, adjusting your personality to fit in, dimming your light so others feel comfortable, apologizing for having boundaries, sacrificing your peace to keep the peace, putting yourself last on an endless list of everyone else's needs. This isn't noble, this isn't love, this is self-abandonment dressed up as virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. We give strangers more authority over our worth than we give ourselves. We let one critical comment outweigh 100 compliments. We change who we are based on who's watching, and in the process, we lose ourselves completely." Self-love says, "I give myself permission to disappoint people, not because I want to hurt anyone, but because I cannot twist myself into shapes that betray my truth just to make others comfortable. I give myself permission to be imperfect, to be a work in progress, to not have it all figured out. I give myself permission to rest without productivity, to eat without guilt, to take up space without apologizing. This permission extends to your emotions too. You're allowed to be sad without needing to explain why. You're allowed to be angry without being told you're overreacting. You're allowed to be joyful without waiting for the other shoe to drop. Your feelings are valid simply because you're feeling them. They don't need to make sense to anyone else. They don't need to be justified or rationalized. They're yours, and they're real, and that's enough. You're also allowed to change. The person you were 5 years ago doesn't have to be the person you are today. You can outgrow relationships, careers, cities, and versions of yourself. You can decide that something you once wanted no longer serves you. Growth isn't betrayal. Evolution isn't failure. Self-love means giving yourself permission to become who you're meant to be, even if it means leaving behind who you used to be. And here's the permission that might be hardest to accept. You're allowed to put yourself first sometimes, not in a selfish, harmful way, but in a necessary, life-giving way. You're allowed to say, "I can't help with that right now because I need to take care of myself." You're allowed to skip the event because you're exhausted. You're allowed to end the conversation because it's draining your energy. You're allowed to choose your peace over people-pleasing. This doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy person. It makes you someone who understands that you can't serve from an empty vessel. It makes you someone who respects themselves enough to protect their energy. And ironically, when you give yourself this permission, you become more available for the people and things that truly matter. Not out of obligation, but out of genuine love and overflow. Stop waiting for the world to tell you it's okay to love yourself. The world is busy, distracted, and dealing with its own pain. Your permission slip isn't coming from out there. It's already inside you, waiting to be signed. Today, sign it. Give yourself full, unconditional permission to honor your needs, respect your limits, and love yourself fiercely. You are allowed to be your own priority. Starting now, you don't need anyone's approval. Declare it. I release all guilt. Number 4. The voice that shapes your world. There's a voice that follows you everywhere. It's the first voice you hear in the morning and the last one before sleep. It comments on everything you do, every choice you make, every reflection you see. It's been with you longer than any friend, any relationship, any job. It's the voice inside your head, your inner voice. And the question you need to ask yourself today is, would you let anyone else speak to you the way you speak to yourself? Most of us wouldn't tolerate a friend who constantly criticized us, pointed out every flaw, reminded us of every failure, and told us we'd never be enough. We'd walk away from that relationship without hesitation. Yet we allow that exact voice to live rent-free in our minds, running commentary on our lives 24 hours a day. We let it tear us down, drain our confidence, and steal our peace. And we call it being realistic or staying humble. Self-love is taking back control of that voice. It's recognizing that the narrator of your life story doesn't have to be cruel. It can be kind. It can be encouraging. It can be honest without being brutal. It can push you to grow without crushing your spirit. The voice in your head is yours to shape, and shaping it is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you'll ever practice. Epictetus taught that we're disturbed not by events themselves, but by our views of them. Your inner voice creates those views. Two people can experience the same setback, but one tells themselves, "I'm a failure, I'll never succeed," while the other says, "This didn't work, but I learned something valuable." Same event, different voices, completely different outcomes. Your inner voice doesn't just describe your reality, it creates it. Think about a recent mistake you made. Now replay the conversation you had with yourself afterward. Were you compassionate, saying, "It's okay, everyone makes mistakes. What can I learn from this?" Or were you harsh, saying, "How could you be so stupid? You always mess things up"? That voice isn't telling you truth. It's telling you a story, and you get to decide if that story empowers you or destroys you. Changing your inner voice takes practice. It's like retraining a muscle that's been tense for years. You have to catch the negative thoughts as they arise. You have to pause and ask, is this helping me or hurting me? Is this true or just fear speaking? Would I say this to someone I love? And then you have to consciously choose a different response. When you look in the mirror and hear, "You look terrible," stop and reframe. "I'm tired today, and that's okay. My worth isn't determined by how I look." When you make a mistake and hear, "You're such an idiot," interrupt with, "I'm human. I'm learning. This doesn't define me." When you face a challenge and hear, "You can't do this," replace it with, "This is hard, but I've done hard things before." This isn't about lying to yourself or pretending problems don't exist. It's about speaking to yourself with the same respect, patience, and encouragement you'd offer someone you care about. It's about becoming your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy. Your inner voice also affects how you receive love from others. If you constantly tell yourself you're unworthy, you'll sabotage relationships because you won't believe anyone could genuinely love you. You'll dismiss compliments, push away affection, and create distance to protect yourself from the inevitable rejection you believe is coming. But when your inner voice is kind, when it reminds you of your worth, you can receive love without suspicion. You can accept kindness without waiting for the catch. Start monitoring your self-talk like it's the most important conversation you'll ever have. Because it is. Write down the cruel things you say to yourself. Look at them on paper. Would you say these things to a child, to your best friend, to anyone you love? If the answer is no, then why are you saying them to yourself? Begin replacing each harsh statement with a truthful, kind alternative. Not fake positivity, but genuine compassion. "I'm behind everyone else" becomes, "I'm on my own timeline, and that's perfectly okay." "Nobody likes me" becomes, "I'm still finding my people, and that takes time." "I'm not good enough" becomes, "I'm doing my best with what I have right now." Your inner voice is powerful beyond measure. It can lift you up or tear you down. It can open doors or close them. It can create possibility or limitation. Today, choose to make it a voice of love. Choose to make it a voice that believes in you, supports you, and reminds you of your strength when you forget. The conversation you have with yourself sets the tone for every other conversation in your life. Make it one worth having. Change the voice. Change your life. Comment. My words create my world. Number 5. The boundaries that set you free. There's a word that might be hard for you to say. 2 letters, 1 syllable, a complete sentence. No. You've spent so much time saying yes. Yes to demands on your time. Yes to requests that drain you. Yes to people who take without giving. Yes to situations that hurt you. You've said yes when your whole body was screaming no. You've said yes out of guilt, obligation, fear of disappointing others, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of being left alone. Self-love is learning to say no without apology. It's understanding that boundaries aren't walls you build to keep people out. They're guidelines you create to keep yourself whole. They're the invisible lines that protect your energy, your peace, your time, and your heart. And without them, you become a doormat for everyone else's needs while your own go completely ignored. Think about your life right now. How many commitments are you keeping out of obligation rather than genuine desire? How many relationships are you maintaining that leave you feeling empty? How many conversations are you enduring that disrespect your values? How many times do you say, "I'm fine," when you're falling apart because you don't want to burden anyone? These are all signs that your boundaries are either too weak or non-existent. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." He understood that while you can't control what others do, you absolutely control how much access they have to you. You control whether you engage or disengage. You control whether you allow someone's chaos to become your chaos. You control the gate to your inner peace, and self-love means guarding that gate with wisdom. Healthy boundaries look like this: saying no to plans when you need rest, even if someone is disappointed. Ending phone calls that have turned toxic. Refusing to justify your decisions to people who aren't living your life. Not responding to every text immediately just because someone expects it. Taking time for yourself without explaining why. Leaving situations that make you feel small. These aren't acts of rudeness, they're acts of self-respect. But here's what stops most people from setting boundaries. Guilt. You feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. You feel guilty for disappointing others. You feel guilty for not being everything to everyone all the time. That guilt has been planted in you by a culture that celebrates self-sacrifice and martyrdom. That guilt is a lie. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give what you don't have. Setting boundaries will upset some people. That's not your problem to fix. People who are used to you having no boundaries will call you selfish when you start creating them. People who benefited from your people-pleasing will resist your growth. People who took advantage of your kindness will try to guilt you back into old patterns. Let them be upset. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your well-being is. Boundaries also mean knowing when to walk away. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Not every job deserves your loyalty. Not every argument is worth having. Self-love is recognizing when something is consistently harmful and having the courage to release it. Staying in situations that deplete you isn't loyalty. It's self-betrayal. You're allowed to outgrow people, places, and versions of yourself. Start small if boundaries feel scary. Practice saying, "Let me think about it," instead of immediately saying yes. Practice saying, "That doesn't work for me," without offering a long explanation. Practice putting your phone on silent when you need peace. Practice leaving events early if you're exhausted. Each small boundary you set builds your confidence to set bigger ones. Remember, boundaries aren't about controlling others. They're about respecting yourself. You're not telling people what to do. You're informing them what you will and won't accept. You're not punishing anyone. You're protecting your peace. You're not being mean, you're being clear. And clarity, even when it's uncomfortable, is an act of love for yourself and for others. The people who truly love you will respect your boundaries. They might need time to adjust, but they'll honor them. The people who get angry at your boundaries were benefiting from you having none. Let that be information. Let that guide your decisions. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your growth, not people who resent your healing. Your time, energy, and peace are precious. They're limited resources. Self-love means treating them that way. It means being selective about where you invest them. It means understanding that every yes to something that drains you is a no to something that could fulfill you. Set the boundaries. Guard them fiercely. Watch your life transform. Protect your peace. Drop this truth. No is a complete sentence. Number 6. The seasons of your becoming. Nature doesn't apologize for its seasons. Winter doesn't feel guilty for being cold and quiet. Spring doesn't rush its blossoms. Summer doesn't apologize for its heat. Autumn doesn't feel shame as its leaves fall. Each season knows its purpose, honors its rhythm, and trusts the cycle. Yet somehow you've forgotten that you're part of nature too. You've forgotten that you're allowed to have seasons. Self-love is honoring the season you're in right now. Maybe you're in winter, a time of rest, withdrawal, inner work. Everything feels dormant. You're not producing, not achieving, not shining the way you think you should. And society tells you that's wrong, that you should always be in summer, always blooming, always bright. But winter is necessary. Winter is when roots grow deeper. Winter is when healing happens beneath the surface where nobody can see. Or maybe you're in spring, emerging from darkness, trying new things, feeling hope again, but also vulnerability. You're not fully bloomed yet. You're tender, fragile, still figuring things out. And you're comparing yourself to people in their full summer, wondering why you're not there yet. But spring doesn't skip steps, neither should you. Every season has its own timeline, its own wisdom, its own beauty. Perhaps you're in autumn, letting things go, releasing what no longer serves you, making space for what's next. Endings are happening, relationships, jobs, versions of yourself are falling away like leaves, and it hurts. It feels like loss. But autumn isn't failure. Autumn is preparation. You're not dying. You're making room for new growth. You're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself by releasing what was never truly yours. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything is only for a day, both that which remembers and that which is remembered. Nothing stays the same. You will not always feel this way. This season, whether beautiful or brutal, is temporary. Self-love is trusting the cycle, even when you can't see what's coming next. Your problem isn't the season you're in. Your problem is fighting it. You're in winter but demanding summer productivity from yourself. You're in spring but angry that you're not in full bloom. You're in autumn but resisting the necessary endings. You're exhausting yourself trying to be in a season you're not in, instead of honoring where you actually are. Self-love asks, what does this season need from me? If you're in winter, it needs rest. It needs stillness. It needs you to stop forcing growth and start allowing recovery. Stop calling it laziness. Stop feeling guilty for slowing down. Your body and soul are doing important work in the quiet. Honor it. If you're in spring, it needs patience. It needs you to celebrate small beginnings instead of demanding instant results. Stop comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Stop rushing the process. New things are fragile. Give them time and gentleness to grow strong. If you're in summer, it needs you to shine without apology. It needs you to stop dimming your light because someone else feels threatened by it. Stop playing small. This is your time to bloom fully, to share your gifts, to live out loud. Don't waste your summer hiding. If you're in autumn, it needs your courage to let go. It needs you to trust that releasing what's dead isn't giving up. It's making space. Stop clinging to relationships, jobs, or identities that have run their course. Stop being afraid of the empty spaces. They won't stay empty. They're just transitioning. And here's the truth that will change everything. You'll cycle through all these seasons multiple times in your life. Sometimes in years, sometimes in months, sometimes even in weeks. You might be in summer in your career, but winter in your relationships. You might be in spring emotionally, but autumn spiritually. You're complex, you're layered. You're allowed to be in multiple seasons at once. Stop judging yourself by someone else's season. Their summer doesn't mean your winter is wrong. Their autumn doesn't mean your spring is too slow. Every person is on their own cycle, and comparison destroys the beauty of where you are. The tree doesn't envy the flower. The ocean doesn't resent the mountain. Nature celebrates diversity of timing. So should you. Ask yourself today, what season am I in? Not where society says I should be, not where I wish I was. Where am I actually? And what does this season need from me? Rest, patience, boldness, release. Give yourself what this moment requires. Trust that this season has purpose. Trust that another season is coming. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not doing it wrong. You're in your season. Honor it. Trust it. Let it teach you. And when it's time, you'll naturally move into the next one. That's not just growth. That's self-love in its most natural, beautiful form. Trust your timing. Affirm below, I trust my season. Number 7. The wounds that made you wiser. You carry scars that nobody sees, wounds from words that cut deeper than any blade, bruises from betrayals that still ache when certain memories surface, pain from moments when you were too much for some people and not enough for others. You've been hurt in ways that changed you, shaped you, marked you, and somewhere along the way, you started believing that these wounds made you damaged, broken, less than, unworthy of love. Self-love is rewriting that story. It's looking at your scars and seeing survival instead of shame. It's recognizing that you're not broken. You're broken open. Those cracks you're trying to hide, they're where the light gets in. They're where wisdom entered. They're proof that you've lived, you've felt, you've endured, and you're still here, still standing, still trying, still worthy. Your wounds don't make you weak. They make you human. They make you deep. They make you capable of compassion that shallow people will never understand. You know what pain feels like, so you recognize it in others. You know what it means to fall apart, so you can sit with someone else's breaking without fear. You know darkness, so you truly appreciate light. Your wounds gave you depth, empathy, and strength you wouldn't have otherwise. But here's where self-love gets challenging. You have to stop using your wounds as weapons against yourself. Stop letting past pain justify present self-destruction. Stop saying, I was hurt, so I don't deserve good things. Stop using your trauma as permission to mistreat yourself. Yes, terrible things happened. Yes, people failed you. Yes, you experienced pain that wasn't your fault. But continuing to punish yourself for what others did to you isn't justice. It's just more pain. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." Your wounds happened in the past, but you keep reopening them with your thoughts. You replay the betrayals. You rehearse the rejections. You relive the moments you wish you could change. And each time you do, you wound yourself again. Self-love is choosing to let the past stay in the past. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. This doesn't mean pretending the pain didn't happen. It doesn't mean forgiving people who hurt you if you're not ready. It doesn't mean toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. It means acknowledging what happened and then making a conscious choice. Will I let this define me, or will I let it refine me? Will I stay stuck in victim mode, or will I step into survivor mode? You've been telling yourself a story about your wounds. Maybe it's, I'm unlovable because my parents didn't show me love. Or, I'll never trust again because I was betrayed. Or, I'm not enough because someone chose someone else. These stories feel true because they're backed by real pain. But feelings aren't facts. Just because someone failed to love you properly doesn't mean you're unlovable. Just because you were betrayed doesn't mean everyone will betray you. Just because you weren't someone's choice doesn't mean you're not worthy of being chosen. Self-love is separating what happened to you from who you are. You are not your trauma. You are not your worst moment. You are not the sum of people's failures to see your worth. You are a soul who experienced hardship and kept going anyway. That's not damage. That's courage. Start treating your wounds with the tenderness they deserve. Stop poking at them to see if they still hurt. Stop showing them to people who have no capacity to hold them with care. Stop expecting yourself to be over them on some arbitrary timeline. Healing isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days old wounds will ache like they're fresh. Both days are part of the journey. Both versions of you deserve compassion. Your wounds also taught you what you won't tolerate anymore. They showed you what you need and what you don't. They revealed who's safe and who's not. They gave you boundaries written in scar tissue. Honor that wisdom. Don't let anyone convince you to lower your standards just because they're uncomfortable with the boundaries your pain taught you to set. And here's the most powerful truth. Your wounds can become your medicine. The things that broke you can become the things that make you a healer for others. Your story of survival can give someone else hope. Your scars can show someone else that healing is possible. Your willingness to keep loving yourself after being hurt can inspire someone to do the same. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are defined by how you chose to rise after it happened. And choosing to love yourself despite the wounds, despite the scars, despite the pain. That's not just healing, that's heroic. You survived. You're stronger. Comment, I turned pain into power. Number 8. The person you're still becoming. You're not finished yet. You're not a completed project. You're not supposed to have it all figured out by now. You're a person in progress, a story still being written, a masterpiece still being painted. And somewhere along the way, you started treating yourself like a final product instead of an ongoing process. You started judging yourself harshly for not being perfect, for not being further along, for not being the person you thought you'd be by this age. Self-love is giving yourself permission to still be becoming. It's understanding that growth doesn't have a deadline. It's accepting that you'll make mistakes tomorrow, learn new things next week, and discover parts of yourself next year that you didn't even know existed. You're allowed to be unfinished. You're allowed to be figuring it out as you go. You're allowed to evolve, change directions, start over, and surprise yourself with who you're capable of becoming. Think about who you were 5 years ago. Different, right? Maybe you believed things you no longer believe. Maybe you tolerated things you'd never tolerate now. Maybe you were quieter, louder, harder, softer. You've changed because you've lived. You've grown because you've experienced. And 5 years from now, you'll be different again. That's not failure. That's life. That's the whole point. Yet you beat yourself up for not being consistent, for changing your mind, for wanting different things than you wanted before. You apologize for evolving as if growth is something to be ashamed of. But Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Every experience you have is an opportunity to become wiser, stronger, more yourself. Every challenge is reshaping you. Every lesson is refining you. You're not the same person who started reading this, and that's beautiful. Self-love means celebrating the person you're becoming instead of mourning who you used to be. It means getting excited about your potential instead of being frustrated by your current limitations. Yes, you have work to do. Yes, you have patterns to break. Yes, you have healing ahead of you. But that doesn't make you broken. It makes you alive. Dead things don't grow. Stagnant things don't change. The fact that you're still becoming means you're still breathing, still trying, still here. Stop comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. You see their finished product and compare it to your rough draft. You see their chapter 20 and compare it to your chapter 5. You see their years of practice and compare it to your first attempt. That's not fair to you. That's not realistic. That's not how growth works. Every expert was once a beginner. Every success story had countless failures. Every person you admire had moments of doubt, confusion, and feeling completely lost. The difference isn't that they're better than you. The difference is they kept going. They kept becoming. They gave themselves permission to be imperfect while working toward improvement. You're allowed to be a beginner at 40. You're allowed to try new things at 60. You're allowed to change careers, change cities, change your entire life at any age. You're allowed to discover passions you didn't know you had. You're allowed to admit you were wrong about something and choose differently now. You're allowed to surprise yourself and everyone who thought they had you figured out. Self-love is protecting your becoming. It's saying no to people who want to keep you in the box of who you used to be. It's setting boundaries with those who feel threatened by your growth. It's walking away from relationships that only valued the old version of you. It's choosing environments that encourage your evolution instead of punishing it. Your becoming is sacred. It's ongoing. It's never too late and never complete. Today, you're becoming someone who loves themselves more. Tomorrow, you'll become someone who knows themselves deeper. Next year, you'll become someone you can't even imagine yet. And that's the adventure of being alive. That's the gift of being human. You get to keep becoming for as long as you're breathing. Stop waiting to love yourself until you're better. Stop postponing kindness toward yourself until you've achieved more. Stop treating yourself harshly because you're not where you thought you'd be. Love yourself now, in this unfinished state. Love yourself while you're learning. Love yourself while you're growing. Love yourself in the messy middle of becoming. Because here's the truth. There is no final version of you. There's only this moment's version, and it deserves your love. You deserve your love. Not someday when you're perfect. Not later when you've figured it all out. Now, today, exactly as you are, even while you're becoming something more. The caterpillar doesn't hate itself for not being a butterfly yet. It trusts the process. It honors the stage it's in. It becomes what it's meant to become in the right time. You're in your cocoon right now, transforming in ways you can't see yet. Stop judging the process. Trust it. Love yourself through it. And watch who you become when you finally give yourself that grace. You're not finished. You're becoming. Right. I'm evolving, not failing. Number 9, the love that starts with you. Everything changes when you realize that the love you've been seeking has been inside you all along. You've been searching for it in other people's words, in achievements, in validation, in likes and comments and external proof that you matter. You've been knocking on every door except the one that leads to your own heart. You've been asking everyone else to fill a space that only you can fill. Self-love isn't selfish. It's the foundation. It's the starting point for every other kind of love in your life. You cannot truly love others if you don't love yourself. because you'll constantly need them to prove your worth. You'll cling instead of connect. You'll demand instead of share. You'll drain instead of nourish. Love that comes from an empty well isn't love. It's desperation disguised as devotion. When you love yourself, you stop looking for someone to complete you because you realize you're already whole. You stop needing constant reassurance because you've learned to reassure yourself. You stop seeking validation because you've learned to validate your own experience. You become full, and from that fullness, you can genuinely give to others without expecting them to fill your voids. Think about how you treat people you love. You're patient with them. You forgive their mistakes. You celebrate their wins. You comfort them in pain. You believe in them when they doubt themselves. You see their potential even when they can't. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you treated yourself that way? When was the last time you were your own best friend instead of your harshest critic? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What we do now echoes in eternity." Every moment you choose self-love over self-criticism, you're creating a new echo. You're rewriting the story. You're building a different relationship with yourself, one that will affect every other relationship you have. When you love yourself, you teach others how to love you. When you respect yourself, you show others where your boundaries are. When you honor yourself, you attract people who will honor you too. Self-love means showing up for yourself the way you've shown up for everyone else. It means keeping the promises you make to yourself. It means not canceling on your own needs every time someone else needs something. It means treating your goals with the same seriousness you treat other people's emergencies. It means being as loyal to yourself as you've been to people who didn't deserve it. It means feeding yourself nourishing food, not because you need to look a certain way, but because your body deserves fuel that makes it feel good. It means moving your body in ways that feel joyful, not punishing. It means resting when you're tired without guilt. It means saying kind words to your reflection. It means celebrating your small victories. It means forgiving yourself for yesterday and trusting yourself with tomorrow. Self-love is also knowing when to ask for help. It's recognizing that you don't have to carry everything alone. It's understanding that reaching out isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's being brave enough to say, "I'm not okay," and trusting that you're still worthy of support. It's letting people in while maintaining boundaries. It's accepting love from others while not depending on it to define you. The most powerful thing you'll ever do is choose yourself. Not in a selfish way that harms others, but in a self-preserving way that honors your worth. Choose yourself when everyone expects you to choose them. Choose yourself when it's uncomfortable. Choose yourself when it's scary. Choose yourself when you're unsure if you deserve it. Because you do. You always have. You always will. Self-love transforms everything. It changes how you walk into rooms. It changes what you tolerate and what you refuse. It changes the types of people you attract. It changes your goals, your standards, your entire trajectory. When you love yourself, you stop living small to make others comfortable. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop dimming your light. You take up your space, speak your truth, and live your life on your terms. And the beautiful paradox is this: the more you love yourself, the more love you have to give, not less, more. Because love isn't a finite resource that runs out when you use it on yourself. It's infinite. It multiplies. It overflows. When your cup is full, you naturally pour into others without resentment, without depletion, without keeping score. Today, make the choice. Choose to be the love you've been waiting for. Choose to be the voice of encouragement you've needed. Choose to be the safe space you've been seeking. Choose to be your own hero, your own comfort, your own home. Because you are worth every ounce of love you've been giving away. You are worth the effort, the patience, the grace, the devotion. The love that changes your life doesn't start out there. It starts right here with you, choosing yourself over and over again until it becomes your nature. The search ends here. Declare it. I am my own home. You made it. You stayed through every word, every truth, every mirror held up to your soul. That alone is an act of self-love. You chose to be here. You chose to listen. You chose to consider that maybe, just maybe, you deserve the love you've been giving everyone else. Self-love isn't a destination you reach. It's a daily practice. Some days it'll feel easy, natural, like breathing. Other days it'll feel impossible, like swimming against the current. On those hard days, come back to this message. Let these words remind you of who you are and what you deserve. You are worthy, not because of what you do, not because of what you achieve, not because of how others see you. You're worthy because you exist, because you're here, breathing, trying, growing. That's enough. You're enough. Start today. Start now. Look at yourself with softer eyes. Speak to yourself with kinder words. Make choices that honor your peace. Set boundaries that protect your energy. Forgive yourself for being human. Celebrate yourself for surviving. Love yourself through the becoming. The world needs you whole, not broken. It needs you rested, not burned out. It needs you loving yourself so you can love others from a place of overflow instead of depletion. Your self-love isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's revolutionary. It's the most important relationship you'll ever build. So before you go, do one more thing for me. Hit that like button if this message touched your soul. Drop a comment with your favorite point or the affirmation that hit home. Share this video with someone who needs this reminder today. And subscribe to this channel for more daily motivation that will keep you growing, healing, and loving yourself more each day. You are loved. You are worthy. You are enough. Now go out there and live like you believe it. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose self-love every single day. Hey warriors, the sun rises. Another day begins. And before you check your phone, before you let the world tell you who to be, you have a choice, a single moment where your mind is still yours, where possibility lives in silence, where the person you want to become waits for you to speak. Words are not just sounds that disappear into air. They are seeds planted in the soil of your consciousness. They are architects that build the house you live in. They are the compass that points your life in one direction or another. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled the world yet mastered himself first, wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He knew that the battle for a meaningful life is won or lost in the theater of the mind, in those first quiet moments when you decide what voice gets to speak. Most people wake up and immediately surrender. They reach for their phones and let fear speak through news headlines. They let comparison speak through social media. They let worry speak through their mental replay of yesterday's mistakes or tomorrow's uncertainties. They give away their morning, which means they give away their day, which means they give away their life. But you are here because something in you refuses to accept that anymore. What if the words you speak to yourself in the morning are not just words? What if they are the foundation upon which your entire day is built? What if rewiring your mind is not about complicated techniques or years of therapy, but about 5 simple words spoken with intention, with belief, with the understanding that you are talking to the most important person you will ever know, yourself? Science backs this up. Neuroplasticity, The brain's ability to reorganize itself shows us that our thoughts create neural pathways. Repeat a thought enough times, and it becomes a highway in your brain. Your mind literally reshapes itself based on what you feed it. The words you speak in the morning are the first meal your consciousness consumes. Make it nourishing. Make it powerful. Make it count. Today I am giving you 5 words, not phrases, not paragraphs. Just 5 words that carry the weight of Stoic wisdom and the power to transform how you see yourself, your challenges, and your potential. These are not magic spells. They will not work if you say them once and forget them. But if you commit to speaking them every morning, if you let them sink into your bones, they will change you. They will rewire the mental patterns that have kept you stuck. They will build a version of you that is stronger, calmer, more purposeful. The Stoics were not philosophers who hid in ivory towers. They were men and women who faced real battles, real loss, real suffering. Epictetus was a slave who became one of history's greatest teachers. Seneca advised emperors while facing exile and death. Marcus Aurelius led armies while writing about inner peace. They found strength not by avoiding life's hardships, but by changing how they spoke to themselves about those hardships. They mastered the internal dialogue, and so can you. Your mind is listening. Right now, it is waiting for instructions. It is ready to be rewired, reprogrammed, redirected. The question is, what will you tell it? Will you repeat the same tired stories of limitation, the same fears disguised as realism, the same excuses dressed up as wisdom? Or will you speak to yourself like someone who deserves greatness, like someone who is capable of growth, like someone who understands that the morning is sacred territory? Before we go deeper, if this message is resonating with you, if you feel that pull toward change, hit that like button. Drop a comment below and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel because we are building something here, a community of people who refuse to settle for a mediocre inner life. And do not skip any part of this video. Every word matters. Stay with me until the end. Let's begin the rewiring. Drop this in the comments if it resonates. My words create my reality. Number 1. I choose my response. Life will hit you. That is not a possibility, it is a guarantee. The question is never whether hardship will come. The question is, who gets to decide what it means? Every morning when you say, I choose my response, you are claiming sovereignty over the one thing no one can take from you. Not your circumstances, not your emotions in the immediate sense, but your response. The space between what happens to you and what you do about it. Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camps, discovered this truth in humanity's darkest hour. He wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Think about what this means. Your phone buzzes with a message that changes your plans for the week. Your body aches from an old injury flaring up again. You see someone you care about making choices that hurt them. A dream you have been working toward hits an unexpected wall. In each of these moments, there is a split second where you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to automatic reaction, the path most people take. They collapse into helplessness. They let frustration consume their entire day. They build stories about why life is unfair. But when you wake up and say, I choose my response, you are training yourself to take the other path. The path of conscious decision. You are reminding yourself that you are not a leaf blown by every wind. You are not a puppet dancing on strings controlled by external events. You are a human being with agency, with choice, with power. This is pure Stoicism. Epictetus taught that we do not control what happens to us. but we absolutely control how we respond. He said there are things within our power and things outside our power. What is within your power? Your judgments, your intentions, your responses. What is outside your power? Almost everything else. The weather, other people's decisions, the past, the future. When you waste energy trying to control what you cannot control, you become weak. When you focus all your energy on what you can control, your response, you become unstoppable. Let me be practical. You wake up tomorrow morning. Before you check your phone, before you start running through your mental list of problems, you speak to yourself. I choose my response. You say it slowly. You say it with conviction. You are programming your mind for the day ahead. You are establishing your identity as someone who is not reactive, but responsive. Someone who is not controlled, but in control. Then life tests you. You receive news that a financial situation is more complicated than you thought. Your initial impulse is panic, maybe even despair. But because you started your day with those 4 words, there is a pause. A brief moment where you remember, I choose my response. You can still feel concerned. That is human. But you do not spiral. You do not catastrophize. You assess the situation calmly. You make a plan. You respond instead of react. Someone you trusted deeply lets you down in a way you never expected. The old you would have carried that betrayal like a stone in your chest for months. But you have rewired your mind. I choose my response. You decide to feel the hurt without letting it define your worth. You decide whether to have a conversation or to create distance. Either way, you are choosing. You are not being chosen for. You are the author, not the character being written. This is not about suppressing emotions. This is not about pretending everything is fine when it is not. This is about recognizing that between what happens and what you do next, there is power. Your power. The power to pause, the power to breathe, the power to ask yourself, who do I want to be in this moment? What response serves my growth, my peace, my values? The rewiring happens through repetition. Your brain has spent years, maybe decades, building automatic pathways that lead straight from trigger to reaction. You cannot erase those pathways overnight, but you can build new ones, stronger ones. Every time you say, I choose my response in the morning, you are laying down new neural tracks. Every time you actually pause and choose during the day, you are reinforcing those tracks. Over time, choosing becomes your default. Response becomes your nature. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire but faced conspiracies, betrayals, plagues, and wars. He could have responded with tyranny, with cruelty, with despair. Instead, he chose wisdom. He chose patience. He chose to see obstacles as opportunities to practice virtue. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Say it every morning, I choose my response. Feel the weight of those words. Feel the freedom in them. You are not helpless. You are not a victim. You are someone who chooses. If this speaks to you, comment, I am the author of my reactions. Number 2. Growth lives here. Pain is not your enemy. Discomfort is not a sign that something has gone wrong. The moment you feel stretched beyond what feels safe, beyond what feels familiar, that is not the universe punishing you. That is growth knocking on your door. When you wake up and say, growth lives here, you are making a declaration. You are telling your mind that this day, this moment, this challenge in front of you is not a problem to avoid. It is soil where something new can take root. The Stoics called this amor fati, the love of fate, not just accepting what happens, but embracing it as necessary for who you are becoming. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." He understood that we do not grow in comfort. We grow in the friction between who we are and who we are trying to become. Most people spend their lives running from discomfort. They stay in situations that drain them because leaving feels too hard. They avoid difficult conversations because confrontation feels too scary. They keep their dreams small because reaching for something bigger means risking failure. They have convinced themselves that comfort equals happiness. But comfort is where dreams go to die. Comfort is where potential gets buried under the weight of maybe someday. When you say, "Growth lives here" every morning, you are rewiring your relationship with discomfort. You are training your brain to see challenge differently. That anxiety you feel before trying something new, that is not weakness. That is your old self making room for your new self. That frustration you feel when progress is slow, that is not failure. That is depth being added to your character. That exhaustion you feel after pushing yourself, that is not breaking down. That is breaking through. Here is what this looks like in real life. You sit down to learn a skill you have been putting off for years. Maybe it is a language. Maybe it is an instrument. Maybe it is a craft you have always admired from a distance. The first attempts are clumsy. Your fingers do not move the way you want them to. Your mind cannot hold all the information at once. Every instinct tells you to quit, to go back to things you are already good at, to protect your ego from this humbling experience. But you started your morning with growth lives here. So you pause, you breathe, you recognize this feeling. This is not failure. This is the feeling of neural pathways forming. This is your brain literally changing shape to accommodate new knowledge. You stay with it. Not because it feels good, but because you have trained yourself to see discomfort as a sign you are on the right path. Or maybe the discomfort is emotional. A relationship in your life needs a boundary you have never set before. Your heart races at the thought of the conversation. Your mind offers you 1,000 reasons to stay silent, to keep peace, to avoid rocking the boat. The fear feels overwhelming because you are about to do something your nervous system has been programmed to avoid. Prioritize your needs when it might disappoint someone else. Growth lives here. Right here in this fear. Right here in this moment where you are choosing yourself even though it is terrifying. The old neural pathways are screaming at you to retreat, but you are building new ones, stronger ones, ones that understand that loving yourself sometimes means making others uncomfortable, that respecting yourself sometimes means other people will not understand, that growing sometimes means outgrowing. Epictetus was born into slavery. He could have spent his life in bitterness, cursing his fate, wishing for different circumstances. Instead, he found freedom in the one place no chains could reach, his mind. He grew in those conditions, not despite them, but through them. He later taught, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." His entire philosophy was born from finding growth in the harshest soil. This is not about toxic positivity. This is not about pretending hardship is a gift. Some things that happen to us are genuinely terrible. Grief is real. Loss is real. Injustice is real. But even in those dark valleys, even when growth feels like the last thing on your mind, the truth remains. You can either let suffering diminish you, or you can let it deepen you. You can emerge bitter, or you can emerge better. Not because suffering is good, but because you have the power to decide what you do with it. Say it every morning. Growth lives here. Say it when things feel easy and when things feel impossible. Say it when you are excited and when you are exhausted. You are teaching your mind to see every moment as an opportunity. You are building a version of yourself that does not shrink from challenge. You are becoming someone who understands that the best things in life live on the other side of what scares you most. Comment below if you're ready. I welcome the discomfort of becoming. Number 3. Today matters most. Yesterday is a ghost. Tomorrow is a promise no one can guarantee. But today? Today is breathing. Today is here. Today is the only canvas where you can actually paint. When you wake up and say, "Today matters most," you are pulling your consciousness out of two prisons that trap most people: regret about the past and anxiety about the future. You are anchoring yourself in the only moment that truly exists. The Stoics were obsessed with this truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." Not because the past does not matter or the future is not important, but because this present moment is the only place where your power lives. Think about how much mental energy you waste. You replay conversations from last month, wishing you had said something different. You relive mistakes from years ago, punishing yourself for choices you cannot change. Or you project yourself into next week, next year, creating elaborate disaster scenarios in your mind. You rehearse arguments that may never happen. You worry about outcomes you cannot predict. Meanwhile, today slips through your fingers like water. The one day you actually have control over becomes a blur because you were too busy living everywhere except now. This is not just philosophy, this is survival. When you split your attention between past regrets and future fears, you are operating at half capacity in the present. You miss opportunities because your mind is somewhere else. You damage relationships because you are not fully present with the people in front of you. You make poor decisions because you are reacting to ghosts instead of responding to reality. When you say, "Today matters most," every morning, you are training your mind to come home. Home to this breath. Home to this moment. Home to the only time and place where you can actually build the life you want. You are not ignoring the past. You are choosing not to live there. You are not denying the future. You are choosing not to be paralyzed by it. Here is what this looks like in practice. You wake up with your mind already racing ahead to everything that needs to happen this week. Appointments, deadlines, obligations stacking up like a mountain you need to climb. The weight of it all presses down on your chest before your feet even touch the floor. Anxiety floods in because your brain is trying to solve 5 days' worth of problems at once. But you have trained yourself. Today matters most. You speak those words and feel your awareness shift. Yes, those things exist. But right now, in this moment, what actually needs your attention? Making your bed, drinking water, moving your body, maybe reaching out to someone you care about. The future will arrive one present moment at a time. You do not need to carry all of it right now. You only need to show up fully for today. Or maybe your prison is the past. You are haunted by a version of yourself that made different choices. You carry shame about who you used to be. You cannot forgive yourself for opportunities you missed or people you hurt. That weight follows you everywhere, coloring every new experience with the stain of old regrets. You want to move forward, but you keep looking backward. Today matters most. Those 3 words become your permission to release what you cannot change. Not because the past does not matter, but because drowning in it does not honor anyone, especially not yourself. The person you were did the best they could with the awareness they had. The person you are now has learned from those experiences. Today is where you get to apply those lessons. Today is where redemption lives, not in rewriting yesterday, but in writing today differently. Seneca spent years in exile, stripped of his position, separated from everything familiar. He could have spent every moment bitter about what was taken from him or terrified about what might come next. Instead, he wrote some of his most profound work during that time. He understood that each day was a complete life in miniature. He wrote, "Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life." Each morning was a rebirth. Each night was a completion. He squeezed meaning from the present moment because it was all he truly had. This rewiring changes everything. When you stop mortgaging your present happiness for future achievements, you actually become more effective. When you stop bleeding energy into unchangeable past, you have more strength for today's challenges. You become someone who is here, fully here, present in conversations, alive in experiences, engaged with what is rather than haunted by what was or paralyzed by what might be. Say it every morning. Today matters most. Let those words pull you into now. Let them remind you that this day, this unrepeatable collection of hours, is your real life. Not someday, not back then. Today, right here, right now. This is where you build everything that matters. Let me see this in the comments. I am fully alive in this moment. Number 4. I am enough. You have been carrying a lie for so long that it feels like truth. The lie that says you need to be more before you deserve peace, that you need to achieve more before you can rest, that you need to fix yourself before you are worthy of love. That lie has stolen years from you. It ends now. When you wake up and say, I am enough, you are not claiming perfection. You are claiming wholeness. You are declaring that your value is not contingent on your productivity. Your worth is not measured by how many people approve of you. Your humanity is not something you need to earn. The Stoics understood this at the deepest level. Epictetus taught that our true nature, our capacity for reason and virtue, is already complete within us. He said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." You already possess what matters most. You just forgot to look. The world has trained you to feel insufficient. Every advertisement whispers that you are incomplete without their product. Every social media scroll suggests that other people have figured out something you are missing. Every comparison tells you that you are falling behind. The treadmill never stops. Achieve this goal, then the next one, then the next one. Make this amount of money, then double it. Reach this level of success, then climb higher. The finish line keeps moving because the game is rigged. You were never meant to arrive. You were meant to keep chasing. But what if you stepped off the treadmill? What if you stood still for a moment and asked yourself, who decided that I was not enough? Where did this measuring stick come from? When did I agree to let external achievements determine my internal worth? The answer will probably shake you. You never consciously agreed to it. It was programmed into you so gradually, so consistently, that you accepted it as reality. When you say, I am enough every morning, you are deprogramming. You are reminding yourself of a truth that existed before the world taught you to doubt it. You came into this world enough. No baby questions their worthiness. No child thinks they need to accomplish something before they deserve to take up space. That knowing, that fundamental sense of belonging, it is still inside you. Buried under years of conditioning, but still there, still true, still waiting for you to remember. Here is what changes when you embrace this. You stop performing for approval. You stop twisting yourself into shapes that please others while betraying yourself. You make decisions based on what aligns with your values, instead of what will impress people who do not really know you. You say no without guilt. You say yes without needing permission. You exist without apology. Someone questions your choices. In the past, their doubt would have sent you into a spiral of self-questioning. You would have spent hours, maybe days, defending yourself internally, trying to prove to a phantom jury that you made the right call, seeking validation from people who are fighting their own battles with enoughness. But you have rewired your mind. I am enough. Their opinion is just that, an opinion. It does not define your reality. It does not determine your worth. You can consider their perspective without being destroyed by their disagreement. Or maybe the voice of not enough comes from inside. You look in the mirror and see every flaw magnified. You review your life and see only what is missing, never what is present. You compare your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20 and feel like a failure. The inner critic is relentless, picking apart everything you do, everything you are. It sounds like protection, but it is actually poison. I am enough. When you say those words, you are not silencing the inner critic permanently. You are choosing not to let it have the final word. You are acknowledging the voice without obeying it. You are saying, I hear you, but I do not serve you anymore. Your worthiness is not up for debate. Your enoughness is not determined by your thoughts about yourself on your worst days. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the known world, still struggled with this. He wrote reminders to himself about his own insignificance in the grand scope of the universe, not to diminish himself, but to free himself from the pressure of needing to be more than human. He knew that accepting his limitations was not weakness, it was wisdom. He wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Everything you need to be whole is already inside you." Say it every morning, I am enough. Say it even when, especially when, you do not believe it yet. You are not trying to convince yourself of a fantasy. You are reminding yourself of a fact that the world made you forget. You are complete. You are whole. You are enough. Share this affirmation below. My worth is not negotiable. Number 5. I release control. Your hands are tired from gripping so tightly. Your mind is exhausted from trying to orchestrate outcomes you were never meant to control. You have been fighting a battle you cannot win, trying to force life to follow a script only you can see. And the cost? Peace. Presence. The ability to breathe without anxiety tightening around your chest. When you wake up and say, I release control, you are not surrendering to chaos. You are surrendering to reality. You are acknowledging a truth that the Stoics built their entire philosophy around. There is what you control, and there is everything else. And everything else is almost everything. Epictetus drew a clear line. He taught, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. This is not passivity. This is power, real power. The power that comes from knowing where your influence ends and acceptance must begin. Think about what you have been trying to control, other people's opinions of you, how quickly your dreams manifest, whether people you love make the choices you think they should make, the timeline of your healing, the behavior of strangers, the outcome of situations where you have done everything you can. You cannot control any of it, but you have spent so much energy trying, energy that could have gone toward what you actually can influence, your effort, your attitude, your growth, your responses. The illusion of control is seductive. It makes you feel safe. If you can just plan perfectly, anticipate every variable, manage every detail, then nothing bad will happen. But life does not work that way. The tighter you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. The more you try to micromanage outcomes, the more suffering you create for yourself. Because control is a myth, and chasing myths is exhausting. When you say, I release control every morning, you are practicing one of the most difficult and most liberating skills a human can learn. You are training yourself to distinguish between influence and control. You can influence many things. You can show up with intention. You can do your best. You can communicate clearly. You can set boundaries. You can make plans. But after that, after you have done what is yours to do, you have to let go. You have to trust. Not trust that everything will work out the way you want. Trust that you will be okay, regardless of how it works out. Here is what this looks like when it is real. You care deeply about someone who is making choices that hurt them. You have said what you needed to say. You have offered support. You have shown up in every way you know how. But they are still on a path you cannot walk for them. Every instinct in you wants to save them, to control their decisions, to force them into the life you can see they deserve. But you cannot. And the grief of that powerlessness sits heavy in your chest. I release control. You say those words and something shifts, not in their life, but in yours. You can still love them. You can still be available, but you stop carrying responsibility for choices that are not yours to make. You stop letting their journey steal your peace. You recognize that everyone, including people you love, has their own path, their own lessons, their own timing. Your job is not to control their story. Your job is to live yours with integrity. Or maybe what you are trying to control is time itself. You have a vision for where you should be by now, a checklist of milestones you were supposed to have reached. But life had different plans, detours you did not choose, delays that made no sense, doors that closed when you were certain they would open. And now you are angry at time, at the universe, at yourself, for not being where you thought you would be. I release control. The timeline is not yours to dictate. You can work hard, you can stay committed, but you cannot force readiness before its season. You cannot rush what is still forming. Seneca wrote during his own period of forced waiting, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." Your job is the preparation. The opportunity's timing, that is not in your hands. And accepting that does not mean giving up. It means showing up fully for today while releasing your grip on tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius led armies but could not control the outcome of every battle. He governed an empire but could not prevent plague, betrayal, or death. He learned to focus on what was his character, his decisions, his responses. He wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you cannot control." He found freedom not by controlling everything, but by releasing what was never his to control. Say it every morning, I release control. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your jaw unclench. You are not giving up. You are giving over. You are trusting life enough to stop fighting it. You are becoming someone who influences what they can and accepts what they cannot. And in that acceptance, you will find a peace you have been searching for in all the wrong places. Type this if you feel it. I trust the process beyond my control. 5 words, 5 mornings, 5 keys to unlock a mind that has been holding itself prisoner. I choose my response. Growth lives here. Today matters most. I am enough. I release control. These are not just words. They are the foundation of a new internal architecture. They are the language of someone who has decided that their inner world matters more than their outer circumstances. They are the voice of a person who understands that rewiring the mind is not a luxury. It is survival. The Stoics did not develop these principles in times of ease. They forged them in exile, in slavery, in war, in grief, in the messy reality of being human, when being human is hard. They left us a roadmap, not because they had all the answers, but because they asked the same questions you are asking now. How do I find peace in chaos? How do I grow through pain? How do I live fully in a world I cannot control? You rewire your mind one morning at a time, one word at a time, one choice at a time. There will be days when you forget, days when old patterns pull you back. That is not failure. That is being human. You do not need perfection. You need commitment. You need to wake up and speak to yourself. like someone who deserves a beautiful internal life. Because you do. These 5 words are waiting for you every morning. They will not force themselves on you. They will not work unless you do. But if you show up, if you speak them with intention, if you let them guide how you move through your day, they will change you, not overnight, but undeniably. Your mind is listening. What will you tell it tomorrow? If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Drop your favorite affirmation in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because we are just getting started. Your transformation matters. Your growth matters. You matter. Leave your commitment below. I am the architect of my mind. Hey warriors, stop for a second. Right now, take a breath and ask yourself this. What if the life you're grinding for is actually keeping you from living? What if all this chasing, proving, and fighting to become someone is just stopping you from being who you already are? Most people are running, sprinting towards some future version of themselves they think will finally be enough. They're working harder, pushing further, sacrificing more, all for that moment when they can finally exhale and say, I made it. But here's the problem. That moment never comes, because the finish line keeps moving. The goalpost shifts. What you thought would be enough suddenly isn't, and you're back on the treadmill, exhausted but unable to stop. You wake up every morning like you're behind, like you're losing a race everyone else is winning. You measure yourself against impossible standards, and somehow you always come up short. Not thin enough, not successful enough, not confident enough, not together enough, just not enough. Period. And underneath all of it is this gnawing feeling that you're wasting time, that life is happening somewhere else to other people, and you're stuck here waiting for your turn, waiting to be ready, waiting to be worthy, waiting for proof that you matter. But what if I told you that waiting is what's killing you? Not the circumstances, not the challenges, the waiting, the believing that someday, when you finally achieve enough, fix enough, become enough, then you'll be allowed to feel victorious. Then you'll get to breathe. Then you'll get to be at peace. That's the trap. That's the lie that keeps you small. Because victory isn't waiting for you at the end of some achievement. It's available right now in how you choose to see yourself and walk through this moment. Not through delusion, not through pretending, but through a fundamental shift in understanding what winning actually means. There's an ancient philosophy, born in the hardest circumstances imaginable, that teaches something radical. The game you think you're playing isn't the real game. The real game is internal. It's about who you become while everything around you falls apart. It's about standing firm in yourself when the world is chaos. It's about being unshakable, not because nothing touches you, but because you've stopped needing external things to feel complete. This isn't motivational fluff. This isn't positive thinking. This is about recognizing that you've been playing by rules that were designed to keep you feeling inadequate. And the moment you see those rules for what they are, you can stop playing that game entirely. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 truths that will fundamentally change how you see yourself and your life. These aren't theories. These aren't ideas to think about later. These are principles that, if you actually apply them, will shift everything. How you show up, how you make decisions, how you handle pressure, how you see winning and losing. If you're exhausted from feeling like you're never enough, this is for you. If you're tired of postponing your life until some perfect future, this is for you. If you're ready to stop performing and start living, stay with me. Every single word here is designed to break you free from the mental prison you've been living in. Before we go further, do this. Hit that like button, drop a comment below, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel because what's coming will change everything. And don't skip any part of this video. If this resonates with you, write below, "I am already victorious." Let's begin. Number 1. Stop auditioning for a life you already have. You're auditioning, right now, for a role you've already been cast in, trying to prove you deserve a life that's already yours, seeking approval for an existence that doesn't require anyone's signature. Every time you hold back in conversation because you're worried about what they'll think. Every time you downplay your achievements because you don't want to seem arrogant. Every time you apologize for taking up space. Every time you perform for validation, you're auditioning. And here's the truth that'll set you free. The audition was never real. Nobody gave you this life conditionally. You weren't issued your existence with a clause that says you have to earn the right to be here through achievement, beauty, success, or likability. You're here. That's it. That's the whole requirement. You're already cast in the lead role of your own life. Stop trying out for it. Think about how much energy you burn every day trying to prove yourself, crafting the perfect response, choosing the right outfit, saying what you think people want to hear instead of what's true, measuring your worth by reactions, likes, approvals from people who are too busy auditioning themselves to even notice you. It's exhausting, and it's completely unnecessary. There's an old story about a king who dressed as a beggar and wandered his kingdom. He spent days bowing to his own subjects, asking for their approval, hoping they'd see his worth. The tragedy wasn't that they didn't recognize him. The tragedy was that he forgot who he was. That's what you're doing every time you seek validation. You're the king dressed as a beggar, asking strangers if you're allowed to access power you already possess. Living as if you've already won means remembering who you are, not who you'll be when you achieve more, not who you'd be if you were different, who you are right now. A conscious being having a human experience, someone with inherent worth that doesn't fluctuate with circumstances. You don't need to audition for anyone, not for love, not for respect, not for opportunity, not for belonging. You show up as yourself, fully and unapologetically, and whoever recognizes your value gets access to you. Whoever doesn't, that's their loss, not yours. This doesn't mean you stop growing or improving. It means you stop waiting for external permission to claim your space. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop performing to be chosen when you've already chosen yourself. The audition is over. You got the part. Now play it like you mean it. Stop waiting in the wings for someone to call your name. Walk onto the stage of your own life and take your place. Not arrogantly, not apologetically, just firmly. With the quiet confidence of someone who knows they belong here. Claim this truth in the comments. I belong here. Number 2. Your peace is non-negotiable. Everything in your life is negotiable except one thing, your peace. And yet, that's the first thing most people trade away. For money, for acceptance, for relationships, for opportunities, for the illusion of control. You negotiate your peace every time you say yes when you mean no. Every time you stay in conversations that drain you. Every time you accept treatment you know you don't deserve. Every time you betray yourself to keep someone else comfortable. And here's what you get in return: stress, resentment, exhaustion, and a life that looks successful on paper but feels hollow inside. You get applause from people who don't really know you. You get achievements that don't fill the void. You get everything except the one thing that actually matters: the ability to rest in your own skin. There's a concept in negotiation called BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It means you never enter a negotiation without knowing your walkaway point. The moment when you say, "This deal costs more than it's worth. I'm out." Your peace is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement for life. It's your non-negotiable. The moment any person, situation, or opportunity requires you to sacrifice your inner calm, you know the price is too high. You walk away, not with drama, not with anger, just with the clear recognition that nothing outside you is worth losing what's inside you. Most people don't walk away because they're afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid of missing out, afraid of seeming difficult or ungrateful. So they stay in jobs that crush their spirit. They maintain friendships that feel like obligations. They accept love that comes with conditions and chaos. But here's what fear doesn't tell you. The cost of staying is always higher than the cost of leaving. You think you're preserving something by tolerating what hurts you, but you're actually destroying the most valuable thing you have, your sense of self. Living as if you've already won means protecting your peace like it's the last thing you own. Because in many ways it is. Strip away everything else and what remains? Your inner state. Your ability to be okay regardless of external chaos. That's the prize. That's what victory actually looks like. This doesn't mean you become cold or isolated. It means you become boundaried. You become clear about what you will and won't accept. You become someone who understands that real relationships, real opportunities, and real love don't require you to betray yourself. Your peace is the foundation everything else is built on. When it's solid, you can handle anything. When it's compromised, nothing else matters. Not success, not money, not status. Nothing feels right when you've lost your center. Stop negotiating. Stop trading. Stop selling yourself short for people and situations that don't value what you're offering. Set the boundary. Walk away when you need to. Choose yourself. Not selfishly, but wisely. Because a person at peace is more valuable to this world than a person who's accomplished everything while losing themselves. If you're setting this boundary, let me see. My peace comes first. Number 3. Winning is what you walk away from. Society measures success by what you accumulate, how much you've gained, how high you've climbed, how much you've added to your life. But real power, real wisdom, that's measured by what you've learned to walk away from. Anyone can add. It takes no strength to say yes to everything, to chase every opportunity, to hold on to every relationship, to accumulate possessions, commitments, and complications. Addition is easy. Subtraction is where the real work lives. Walking away from a toxic relationship, even though you're afraid of being alone. That's winning. Walking away from a high-paying job that's killing your soul. That's winning. Walking away from the need to be right in an argument. That's winning. Walking away from revenge when you've been wronged. That's winning. Most people can't walk away because they've confused their worth with what they're holding on to. They think letting go means losing. They think walking away means failing. They think saying no means missing out. So they stay. They endure. They suffer in silence while calling it commitment, loyalty, or perseverance. But there's a difference between perseverance and prison, between commitment and compromise, between loyalty and self-abandonment. And knowing that difference is what separates people who live powerfully from people who just survive. There's an ancient teaching about the monkey trap. Hunters would hollow out a coconut, put food inside, and attach it to a tree. The hole was big enough for a monkey to reach in with an open hand, but too small to pull out a closed fist. The monkey would grab the food and refuse to let go, trapping itself. Freedom was always available. It just required releasing what it was holding. That's you. That's all of us. Trapped by our grip on things that aren't serving us. Jobs we hate, but won't leave because of the salary. Relationships that hurt us, but we won't end because we've invested too much time. Beliefs about ourselves that limit us, but we won't question because they're familiar. Grudges we won't release because we think our anger is protecting us. Living as if you've already won means understanding that the true trophy isn't what you collect. It's what you're wise enough to release. It's having the strength to say, "This doesn't serve me anymore," and the courage to walk away, even when it's hard. Every master of life is also a master of letting go. They don't cling, they don't force, they don't hold on to people, outcomes, or versions of themselves that no longer fit. They release with grace what needs to go, trusting that what's meant for them won't require them to betray themselves. Look at your life right now. What are you holding on to that's actually holding you back? What relationship, belief, commitment, or possession is keeping you trapped? What would freedom look like if you had the courage to open your hand? For those ready to release what's holding them back, I walk away with strength. Number 4, you're building a reputation with yourself. Everyone's obsessed with their external reputation. What people think, what shows up when someone searches their name, how they're perceived at work, on social media, in their community. They manage their image like a brand, carefully curating what the world sees. But there's another reputation being built that matters infinitely more. The one you're building with yourself. The private scoreboard that tracks every promise you make and break to yourself. Every time you said you'd start and didn't. Every time you knew what was right and did what was easy instead. This reputation doesn't live in anyone's mind but yours. No one else is tracking it. No one else knows when you compromise it. But you know. And that knowledge, that internal credibility, is the foundation of everything else in your life. Every time you hit snooze when you said you'd wake up early, you're making a deposit into the account of self-distrust. Every time you scroll when you said you'd read, you're voting for a version of yourself you don't respect. Every time you stay quiet when you should speak up, you're teaching yourself that your voice doesn't matter. And the opposite is true. Every time you do what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it, you're building trust with yourself. Every time you honor your word to yourself, you're proving you're someone you can count on. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're becoming someone you're proud to be. This internal reputation is what determines your self-confidence. Not affirmations, not positive thinking, not other people's compliments. Real confidence comes from having evidence that you're reliable, that when you tell yourself something, you mean it, that you're not just full of talk and empty promises. Think about people you trust in the outside world. Why do you trust them? Because their words match their actions, because they do what they say they'll do, because they've built a track record of reliability. That's the same relationship you need with yourself. Living as if you've already won means treating promises to yourself as seriously as promises to others, maybe more seriously. Because if you can't trust yourself, you've lost your foundation. If you can't count on yourself to show up, to follow through, to do what's hard, then nothing else matters. Your external reputation can recover from almost anything. People forget. Time passes. You can rebuild what others think of you, but your internal reputation, that's with you every moment, in every decision, in every quiet moment when no one's watching except the person looking back at you in the mirror. Stop breaking promises to yourself. Stop saying tomorrow when you mean never. Stop betraying the one person who has to live with you forever. You. Start small. Pick one thing. Do it consistently. Build evidence that you're someone worth trusting. The victory isn't in impressing others. It's in becoming someone you respect. Someone whose word to themselves actually means something. That's the reputation that changes everything. If you're building trust with yourself, declare, "I keep my word to me." Number 5. Your standards create your reality. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you tolerate. Read that again. Everything in your life right now, every relationship, every circumstance, every situation exists because on some level you've accepted it. The disrespect you're experiencing, you tolerated it once, so it continued. The mediocre effort you're surrounded by, you accepted it, so it became the standard. The life that feels smaller than you know you're capable of, you've been willing to live there, so there you remain. This isn't about blame. This is about power. Because if your tolerance created your current reality, then changing your standards can create a different one. Most people have standards for what they want, but no standards for what they'll accept. They dream big, but tolerate small. They want respect, but accept disrespect. They want growth, but settle for comfort. They want excellence, but make excuses for mediocrity. Your standards are the invisible fence around your life. They determine what gets in and what stays out. They're not about judging others. They're about honoring yourself enough to say, "This is the minimum I will accept." Not because I'm better than anyone, but because I know my worth. Low standards don't protect you from disappointment. They guarantee it. When you accept less than you deserve, you're not being flexible or understanding. You're training the world to treat you as optional, as someone whose boundaries don't really matter, as someone who says one thing but accepts another. There's a principle called the water level. If you put a boat in water, it rises to the water level, not higher, not lower, exactly to the level of what's beneath it. Your life rises to the level of your standards, not your hopes, not your potential, your standards. Living as if you've already won means having winner's standards, not in arrogance but in self-respect. It means deciding what you will and won't accept, and then holding that line even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. This shows up everywhere, in how you let people speak to you, in the effort you accept from others, in the work you're willing to put your name on, in the environments you're willing to stay in the excuses you're willing to accept from yourself. Raise your standards and everything else rises with it. Not immediately, not without resistance, but inevitably. Because the universe responds to what you demonstrate you'll accept, not what you say you want. Stop tolerating what you've been tolerating. Stop making excuses for people who consistently show you who they are. Stop accepting behavior that violates your values. Stop staying in situations that require you to shrink. Set the standard, hold the line, walk away from what doesn't meet it, not angrily, not dramatically, just firmly, with the quiet certainty of someone who knows their worth isn't up for negotiation. Your reality will adjust. It always does. Those raising their standards affirm this: I deserve better. Number 6. The battle you're avoiding is making you weak. There's a conversation you need to have, but you're avoiding. A decision you need to make, but you keep postponing. A truth you need to face, but you keep pretending isn't there. And every day you avoid it, it gets heavier. Every day you run from it, it gets stronger. Every day you pretend it doesn't exist, it takes more of your power. Avoidance feels like protection. It feels like you're keeping yourself safe. But you're not. You're keeping yourself stuck. You're trading temporary comfort for permanent weakness. You're choosing the pain of staying the same over the pain of change. The thing about avoided battles is they don't disappear. They wait. They grow. They compound. That difficult conversation doesn't get easier with time. That hard decision doesn't become clearer by ignoring it. That fear you're running from doesn't shrink while you hide. Most people spend their entire lives running from the same 5 or 6 battles. The conversation with their parent, the ending of a dead relationship, the career change they know they need, the boundary they need to set, the truth they need to speak. They spend decades building elaborate systems to avoid what could be resolved in a single moment of courage. And here's the cost. Every avoided battle drains you. Not obviously, not dramatically, but constantly, like a leak in your gas tank. You wake up tired, you feel anxious for no clear reason, you're irritable, you're distracted, because part of you is always standing guard, making sure that thing you're avoiding stays buried. You know what takes more energy than facing your battles? Avoiding them. You know what's harder than having that difficult conversation, carrying the weight of not having it for another year. You know what's more painful than change, staying the same while pretending you chose it. Living as if you've already won means facing what you've been avoiding. Not because you're fearless, but because you understand that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that something matters more than your fear. Winners don't avoid hard things, they walk toward them. Not because it's easy, because it's necessary. They understand that the growth they want lives on the other side of the discomfort they're avoiding. That person you need to confront, face them. That truth you need to speak, say it. That relationship you need to end it. That risk you need to take it. That help you need to ask for, ask. That forgiveness you need to offer, give it. Will it be hard? Yes. Will it be uncomfortable? Absolutely. Will you survive it? You've survived every hard thing you've ever faced. This won't be different. The moment you stop running and face what you've been avoiding, something shifts. Not just externally, internally. You reclaim power you didn't even realize you'd given away. You become someone who doesn't hide from their life, someone who meets it head-on. The battle you're avoiding is the exact battle you need to fight to become who you're meant to be. If you're done avoiding, commit below. I face it now. Number 7. You're not broken, you're unfinished. You've been treating yourself like a problem to fix, like something's fundamentally wrong with you, like you're damaged goods that need to be repaired before you're allowed to fully participate in life. And that belief, that single belief, is costing you everything. You're not broken, you're in process. You're not defective, you're developing. You're not a finished product that got damaged. You're a work in progress that's exactly where it should be. Every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. Every person you admire struggled with the same doubts, fears, and failures you're struggling with now. The difference isn't that they were special or chosen or naturally gifted. The difference is they didn't quit on themselves when things got hard. We live in a world that shows you everyone's highlight reel and none of their struggle. You see the finished painting, but not the hundreds of failed attempts. You see the successful business, but not the years of barely surviving. You see the confident person, but not the nights they cried themselves to sleep, wondering if they'd ever figure it out. So you compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's show reel and conclude something must be wrong with you. You must be broken. You must be the only one who struggles this much. You must be fundamentally flawed in ways others aren't. That's the lie. That's the trap. That's what keeps you small. Living as if you've already won means understanding that you're exactly where you need to be to get where you're going. Every failure is teaching you something success never could. Every setback is redirecting you toward something better. Every moment you feel lost is actually you finding your way. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're not ruined by your past or disqualified by your mistakes. You're learning. You're growing. You're becoming. And that process, that beautiful, messy, uncomfortable process, is exactly what's supposed to be happening. Stop waiting to be fixed before you start living. Stop believing you need to be perfect before you're allowed to try. Stop treating yourself like you're not good enough yet. You're good enough now, not because you're finished, because you're willing to be unfinished and show up anyway. The Japanese have a concept called kintsukuroi. When a bowl breaks, instead of throwing it away or hiding the cracks, they repair it with gold. The bowl becomes more valuable, more beautiful, because of where it broke. The cracks become part of its story, its character, its worth. That's you. Every crack, every break, every place you think you're damaged is actually where your light gets in. It's where your character is formed. It's what makes you real, relatable, and remarkably human. You're not broken. You're breaking through. You're not falling apart. You're falling into place. Trust the process. Trust yourself. You're becoming exactly who you need to be. For everyone in process, remember, I am becoming. Number 8. Your silence is agreement. Every time you stay silent when something's wrong, you're not keeping the peace. You're giving your approval. Every time you witness disrespect and say nothing, you're not being diplomatic. You're being complicit. Every time you swallow your truth to avoid confrontation, you're not protecting the relationship. You're betraying yourself. Your silence speaks louder than you think. It tells people what you'll tolerate. It shows them where your boundaries actually are, not where you claim they are. It teaches the world that your comfort matters less than their convenience. And here's what happens. You become invisible in your own life. You watch things unfold that violate everything you believe in, and you say nothing. You experience treatment you know you don't deserve, and you accept it. You see opportunities to speak truth, and you swallow it, all in the name of avoiding discomfort. But that discomfort doesn't disappear. It just moves inside. It becomes resentment, frustration, self-loathing. That quiet voice that whispers, "Why didn't you say something? Why do you always do this? Why are you so weak?" The cost of your silence isn't paid by others. It's paid by you. In your self-respect, in your sense of power, in your ability to look yourself in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. Most people stay silent because they're afraid. Afraid of conflict. Afraid of being disliked. Afraid of rocking the boat. Afraid of the consequences of speaking up. But they never consider the consequences of staying silent. They never count the cost of betraying themselves repeatedly in the name of false harmony. There's a difference between choosing your battles wisely and avoiding all battles out of fear, between being diplomatic and being dormant, between strategic silence and cowardly silence. And you know the difference. You feel it in your gut every time you choose silence when your soul is screaming to speak. Living as if you've already won means using your voice, not recklessly, not cruelly, but honestly. It means saying the thing that needs to be said, even when your voice shakes. It means standing up for what's right, even when you're standing alone. It means refusing to participate in your own erasure. This doesn't mean you become aggressive or confrontational. It means you become honest. You say, "That doesn't work for me." You say, "I see this differently." You say, "I need to address something." You say, "This isn't okay." You speak not because you expect to change others. You speak because silence changes you into someone smaller, someone quieter, someone who matters less, starting with how much you matter to yourself. Your voice is your power. Your truth is your weapon. Your willingness to speak is what separates people who live on their own terms from people who live on everyone else's. Stop outsourcing your voice to fear. Stop letting discomfort silence what needs to be said. Stop trading your truth for temporary peace. Speak, even if it's uncomfortable. Especially if it's uncomfortable. If you're reclaiming your voice, say it. I speak my truth. Number 9. Waiting is the real risk. You think you're being careful, strategic, waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right level of readiness. But you're not waiting. You're hiding. And calling it wisdom doesn't make it less destructive. The right time doesn't exist. The perfect moment isn't coming. The day when you feel completely ready will never arrive, because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision, and waiting for the feeling is just fear wearing a disguise. Every day you wait to start that business, someone else starts theirs. Every day you wait to have that conversation, the distance grows. Every day you wait to make that change, you're choosing to stay the same. And staying the same while pretending you're preparing, that's not strategy, that's self-deception. We've been taught that risk is in action, in trying, in putting yourself out there. But the real risk is in waiting, in postponing, in letting years pass while you gather courage that only comes from doing the thing you're afraid to do. You want to know what's risky? Dying with your dreams still inside you. Reaching the end of your life and realizing you spent it preparing instead of living. Looking back and seeing all the moments you said someday when you could have said today. The people you admire didn't wait until they were ready. They started before they felt ready and became ready through the doing. They took messy action. They failed forward. They learned by trying, not by planning to try someday. Living as if you've already won means understanding that the starting line is the finish line. The moment you begin is the moment you've already succeeded. Not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because you've overcome the biggest obstacle there is, inaction. You're waiting for confidence to take action, but confidence comes from action. You're waiting for clarity to make decisions, but clarity comes from decisions. You're waiting to feel brave before you move, but bravery is moving while you're scared. Every single day you delay is a day you can't get back. Every opportunity you postpone might not be there when you finally decide you're ready. Every person you're waiting to connect with might not be available when you finally work up the courage. Time is the one resource you can't earn more of. You can make more money. You can build new relationships. You can learn new skills, but you can't create more time. What you have right now is all you get, and every moment you spend waiting is a moment you're choosing not to spend living. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for fear to disappear. It won't. Do it afraid. Do it imperfectly. Do it now. The graveyard is full of people who were waiting for the right time. Don't join them. Start messy. Start scared. Start today. Because waiting is the real risk you can't afford to take. Those choosing action over waiting affirm, I start today. Number 10. This moment is your proof. You've been looking for proof that you're enough, that you're worthy, that you matter. You've been searching for it in achievements, relationships, validation, success. Scanning the external world for evidence of internal worth. And every time you look outside for what's only found inside, you come up empty. But here's what you've missed. You already have all the proof you need. It's not coming. It's here. You're experiencing it right now. The fact that you're reading these words is proof. Proof that you survived everything that tried to break you. Proof that you're still looking for answers, still growing, still trying. Proof that something in you refuses to give up, even when giving up would be easier. You're here, still breathing, still standing, still fighting for a better version of yourself and your life. That's not weakness. That's proof of your strength. That's evidence of your resilience. That's the victory you've been looking for outside yourself. Every breath you take is proof you're alive. Every challenge you've faced and overcome is proof you're capable. Every time you got back up after falling is proof you're unbreakable. Every moment you chose growth over comfort is proof you're committed to becoming more. You don't need external validation to know you matter. You don't need achievements to prove your worth. You don't need other people's approval to confirm you're enough. The proof is in your persistence, in your presence, in the fact that life has tested you repeatedly and you're still here. Living as if you've already won means recognizing that you are the proof. Not what you've accomplished, not what you own, not what others say about you. You, your existence, your journey, your willingness to keep showing up even when it's hard. Stop waiting for some future accomplishment to validate your worth. Stop believing that when you finally achieve that thing, you'll finally feel like you've made it. You've already made it. You're here. You're conscious. You're trying. That's the whole victory right there. This moment, right now, is all the proof you need that you're exactly where you need to be. Not behind, not ahead, here. In this specific moment with this specific experience, learning what you need to learn, becoming who you need to become. You've been treating proof like something you need to earn, but proof isn't earned, it's recognized. And once you recognize that your existence is proof enough, everything changes. You stop performing, you stop proving, you start living. The evidence of your worth isn't waiting in your future. It's written in your past and present in every moment you didn't give up, in every time you tried again, in every breath you take that says, I'm still here. I'm still trying. I still believe there's more for me. That's your proof. That's your victory. That's everything. If you recognize your own worth, state, I am enough. You made it to the end, and that matters more than you realize. Most people quit halfway through anything that challenges them, but you stayed. That tells me something about who you are. Living as if you've already won isn't a mindset trick. It's a fundamental shift in how you see yourself and move through this world. It's understanding that the scoreboard you've been watching doesn't determine your value, that the race you've been running was always against yourself, that the win you've been chasing has been available every single moment you chose to show up as who you really are. You don't need more time, more resources, more credentials, more permission. You need to stop waiting and start claiming what's already yours. Your power, your voice, your life, your right to exist fully without apologizing for taking up space. Everything we covered today is useless unless you use it. These aren't concepts to admire, they're principles to live by. Starting right now, starting with the next decision you make, starting with how you speak to yourself when you close this video. The world needs people who've stopped performing and started living, who've stopped waiting for permission and started giving it to themselves, who understand that victory isn't about having everything, it's about needing nothing external to feel complete. You've already won, you just needed someone to remind you. Now go live like you believe it. If this video shifted something in you, don't let that shift die here. Hit that like button, share this with someone who's tired of feeling like they're losing. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. Subscribe to this channel because we're building something real here. You've already won. Stop waiting for external proof. Start being the proof. Seal your commitment with this. I live like I've won. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Now go claim what's yours. Hey warriors, every night life beats you up a little. Stress leaves marks, worry creates cracks, fear breaks pieces off, disappointment wears you down. And when you wake up the next morning, your mind is damaged, not broken, but damaged. And most people ignore it. They just push through wondering why they feel weaker every single day. Here's what nobody tells you. Your mind isn't a machine that runs forever without maintenance. It's more like a house. And every day that house takes damage. A storm hits it. The foundation settles. The walls get scratched. The roof gets worn. And if you don't fix the damage, eventually the whole thing collapses. The ancient Stoics understood this better than anyone. These weren't soft philosophers sitting in comfortable rooms talking about theories. These were men who faced real damage. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome while dealing with wars, plagues, and betrayals. Epictetus was a slave whose leg was broken by his master. Seneca watched everything he built get torn away from him. They knew about damage, and they knew something else. You either repair your mind every morning, or you let it crumble. This isn't about being perfect. This isn't about never getting hurt. Life will hurt you. That's guaranteed. The question is, will you fix the damage, or will you let it pile up until you can't function anymore? Today, I'm giving you 12 simple repairs, not complicated philosophy, not fancy techniques that require an hour of your morning. Simple fixes that anyone can do. Each one targets a different kind of damage, and together they'll keep your mind strong enough to handle whatever today throws at you. Seneca said something that changed how the Stoics saw every morning. Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. Every morning is a fresh start, but only if you actually start fresh. Only if you fix yesterday's damage instead of dragging it into today. Before we start, hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs their mind repaired, and subscribe to this channel because we're not here to entertain you. We're here to rebuild you. And don't skip any part of this video. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal every morning, not to inspire others, to repair himself, to fix the damage before he stepped into a world that would damage him again. He understood that mental strength isn't something you have or don't have. It's something you build every single morning. Your mind is damaged right now. That's not an insult. That's reality. The only question is, are you going to fix it or ignore it? Type this in the comments if you're ready. I fix my mind every morning. Number 1. Throw out yesterday's trash. You wake up, and the first thing your brain does is hand you yesterday's garbage. The argument you had, the mistake you made, the opportunity you missed, the embarrassing thing you said. Your mind dumps it all right back in your lap like it just happened 5 minutes ago. And here's what most people do. They pick it up. They carry it. They spend their entire morning replaying it, analyzing it, beating themselves up over it. Then they wonder why they feel heavy before they even get out of bed. Seneca watched people do this their entire lives. Carry trash from yesterday into today, from last week into this week, from years ago into right now. And he said something simple but powerful. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. But you can't enjoy the present when you're dragging the past behind you. Here's the truth about yesterday. It's done. Completely done. You can't change what happened. You can't unsay what you said. You can't undo what you did. The only thing you can control is whether you're going to keep carrying it or not. Think about actual trash. You wouldn't take yesterday's garbage out of the bin and carry it around with you all day. That would be insane. Yet that's exactly what you do with mental trash. You pull it out of yesterday and carry it into today, then into tomorrow, then into next week. Your mind becomes a landfill of old garbage that should have been thrown out a long time ago. The Stoics practiced something every morning. They would consciously let go of yesterday, not by pretending it didn't happen, not by suppressing it, but by acknowledging it and choosing not to carry it forward. They understood that yesterday has no power in today unless you give it that power. Here's your first repair. Take 30 seconds. Right after you wake up, before you check your phone, before you start thinking about your day, ask yourself this question. What am I carrying from yesterday that I don't need to carry today? Maybe it's a conversation that went wrong. Maybe it's a mistake at work. Maybe it's something someone said to you. Whatever it is, name it. Then say out loud or in your head, "That's done. I'm not carrying it anymore." It sounds too simple to work. But here's what happens. When you consciously release something, you're telling your brain, "This no longer gets space in my head. I'm not giving it attention. I'm not feeding it energy. It's trash, and trash goes out." You can't fill your day with new good things if your mind is still full of old bad things. Empty the trash first, every single morning. If this hits you, drop this below. Yesterday is trash, today is fresh. Number 2. Check your foundation first. You wake up and immediately start piling things on. Tasks, responsibilities, commitments, goals, expectations. You stack them higher and higher without ever asking one simple question: can I actually carry all of this today? Then by noon, you're overwhelmed. By evening, you're exhausted. And you think something's wrong with you. But nothing's wrong with you. You just tried to carry more than your foundation could support. Epictetus taught something that sounds obvious, but almost nobody does. First, say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. In other words, know what you're actually capable of before you promise to do everything. Know your foundation before you start building on it. Think about construction. Before you build a house, you check the foundation. You test the ground. You make sure it can support the weight you're about to put on it. If you don't, the whole thing collapses. Your mind works exactly the same way. Some days your foundation is solid. You slept well. You feel good. Your mind is clear. You can handle more. Other days your foundation is weak. You're tired. You're stressed. You're already carrying damage from yesterday. You can't handle as much. And that's not weakness. That's reality. But here's what most people do. They ignore the foundation. They promise to do 10 things when they can realistically do 3. They say yes to everything when they should be saying no to most things. They overload a weak foundation and then feel like failures when it cracks. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but even he had to check his foundation every morning. He'd write in his journal about what he could realistically handle that day, not what he wished he could handle, what he actually could. And on the days when his foundation was weak, he'd adjust. He'd carry less. He'd focus on what mattered most and let the rest wait. Here's your second repair. Every morning, before you look at your to-do list, before you check your emails, before you commit to anything, ask yourself honestly, what can I realistically handle today? Not what would make you look productive, not what would impress other people, not what you think you should be able to handle. What you can actually carry without collapsing. Maybe it's one big task. Maybe it's 3 small ones. Maybe today is a maintenance day where you just keep things from falling apart. That's okay. Better to do less well than to do everything badly and hate yourself by the end of the day. The Stoics weren't superhuman. They just knew their limits and respected them. They built only what their foundation could support. And when the foundation was weak, they didn't pretend it was strong. They adjusted. Check your foundation first. Then decide what to build on it, not the other way around. Number 3. Fix small problems before they get big. There's a small worry in the back of your mind. Nothing major, just a little thing. A conversation you need to have, a bill you need to pay, a decision you need to make. It's small, so you ignore it. You'll deal with it later. You'll handle it when you have time. You'll get to it eventually. Then days pass. That small worry grows. It gets louder. It starts taking up more space in your head. Now it's not just a small thing. It's a constant background noise, and you're still ignoring it. Until one day, it's not small anymore. It's massive. It's overwhelming. And now you're drowning in something that could have been fixed in 5 minutes if you'd dealt with it when it first appeared. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because the past and future don't matter, but because right now is where you have power. Right now is when problems are still small enough to fix." Think about a crack in a wall. When it first appears, it's tiny. You can seal it in seconds. But if you ignore it, water gets in. The crack spreads. It gets deeper. It gets wider. Eventually, the entire wall collapses. And fixing a collapsed wall is 1,000 times harder than sealing a small crack. Your mind works the same way. A small worry is a crack. A small fear is a crack. A small doubt is a crack. And if you catch it early, it's easy to fix. But if you ignore it, it spreads. It grows. It becomes structural damage. Here's what most people do. They wait until problems are huge before they deal with them. They avoid the small, uncomfortable conversation until it becomes a massive conflict. They ignore the small financial issue until it becomes a crisis. They dismiss the small health concern until it becomes an emergency. And then they wonder why their life feels like it's always on fire. The Stoics didn't wait. When they noticed something wrong, they fixed it immediately. Not because they were brave, because they were smart. They knew that small problems fixed early stay small. Small problems ignored become big disasters. Here's your third repair. Every morning, identify one small problem. One thing that's starting to worry you. One thing you've been avoiding. One thing that's creating a crack in your mind. Then fix it today. Not this week. Today. Make the phone call you've been putting off. Send the text you've been avoiding. Pay the bill that's been sitting there. Have the conversation that's been making you anxious. Whatever it is, deal with it while it's still small. Don't wait for problems to get big. Big problems require big solutions. Small problems require small actions. And you have time for small actions right now. Number 4. Get rid of what's hurting you. There's something in your life that's slowly poisoning you. You know exactly what it is. Maybe it's a toxic person who drains your energy every time you talk to them. Maybe it's a bad habit that's destroying your health. Maybe it's a job that's killing your soul. Maybe it's a lie you keep telling yourself. You know what it is. And you're keeping it anyway. Why? Because removing it is uncomfortable. Because it's familiar. Because you're scared of what life looks like without it. So, you hold on to the thing that's hurting you and wonder why you feel worse every day. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome. He had wealth, power, influence. But he knew something most people don't understand. Anything you can't let go of owns you. So, he practiced voluntary poverty. He'd give away his possessions. He'd live simply. Not because he hated wealth, but because he refused to be controlled by it. He removed what could poison him before it did. Think about poison in your body. If you swallow poison, you don't keep it inside and hope it gets better. You get it out immediately. You do whatever it takes to remove it, because you know it will kill you if you don't. But with mental and emotional poison, people do the opposite. They know something is toxic, and they keep it anyway. That friendship that makes you feel small every time you see them. Poison. That habit of scrolling through social media comparing yourself to others. Poison. That relationship where you're constantly anxious and walking on eggshells. Poison. That belief that you're not good enough. Poison. You know it's hurting you, and you're still holding on. Here's what the Stoics understood. Sometimes removal is the only solution. You can't fix poison. You can't negotiate with toxicity. You can't make something healthy that's fundamentally destructive. You can only remove it. Epictetus said it plainly. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Part of what's in your power is deciding what gets access to your life, what gets space in your mind, what gets to influence your emotions, And when something is poisoning you, removing it is absolutely in your power. Here's your fourth repair. Identify one thing in your life that's slowly poisoning you. Be honest. You know what it is. Then make a plan to remove it. Not someday. This week. Maybe you can't remove it instantly. Maybe it takes planning. That's okay. But start the removal process today. Set the boundary. Have the conversation. Make the change. Begin the detox. You can't heal while you're still consuming poison. And you can't build a strong mind while toxic things are rotting it from the inside. Get rid of what's hurting you, even if it's hard, even if it's scary, even if part of you wants to keep it. Your mental health is worth more than your comfort. Let me see this affirmation below. I remove what's poisoning me. Number 5. Decide what you won't break. You compromise on everything, and that's why nothing in your life feels solid. Someone asks you to do something that violates your values, and you do it anyway because saying no is uncomfortable. You set a boundary, but then you let people cross it because you don't want conflict. You make a promise to yourself, but you break it the moment it gets difficult. You bend on everything. And when everything bends, everything breaks. Cato the Younger understood something most people never learn. Some things must be unbreakable or nothing matters. He had principles that were non-negotiable, not because he was rigid, but because he knew that if he compromised on what mattered most, he'd end up compromising on everything. When Julius Caesar offered to spare his life if he'd just accept Caesar's rule, Cato refused. He chose death over compromise. That sounds extreme until you understand what he was protecting: his integrity. The one thing that, if lost, meant nothing else mattered. He'd rather die with his principles intact than live without them. You're not going to face that kind of choice, but you face smaller versions every single day. And every time you compromise on what you said was important, you're training yourself that nothing is actually important. You're teaching yourself that your word means nothing, that your boundaries are suggestions, that your values are negotiable. Think about a building. It has load-bearing walls. These walls hold everything up. If they crack, the entire structure collapses. You can renovate other walls. You can change the paint. You can move furniture. But the load-bearing walls must stay solid, or the whole building falls. Your principles are your load-bearing walls. They're what holds everything else up. Your self-respect, your relationships, your sense of purpose, your mental health. All of it depends on those core principles staying solid. And every time you compromise them, you're cracking a load-bearing wall. Here's your 5th repair. Every morning, decide on 3 things you absolutely will not compromise on today. Not guidelines, not goals, non-negotiables. Maybe it's, I will not lie, even if the truth is uncomfortable. Maybe it's, I will not skip my workout, no matter how I feel. Maybe it's, I will not let people disrespect me, even if it creates conflict. Whatever they are, write them down. Say them out loud. Make them real. Then when the day tests you, and it will test you, you already know the answer. You already decided. There's no negotiation. There's no just this once. The wall doesn't bend. Marcus Aurelius had one simple rule that guided everything. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. He didn't debate principles. He lived them unbreakably. Decide what you won't break. Then don't break it. Not today. Not ever. Number 6. Let the pressure out. You're holding everything inside. The stress, the anger, the fear, the truth you're too scared to say, the feelings you're too proud to admit. You're sealing it all in, thinking that's strength, thinking that's control. But it's not. It's a pressure cooker, and pressure cookers explode. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world. He had to appear strong, composed, in control at all times. But he knew something crucial. If you don't release pressure, it will destroy you from the inside. So, every morning, he wrote in his journal, brutal truths, real fears, honest struggles. He gave the pressure a way out before it tore him apart. Think about a sealed container. Put heat and pressure inside it with no release valve, and eventually it bursts. The container doesn't get stronger by holding more pressure. It gets destroyed by it. Your mind works the same way. That argument you need to have but keep avoiding. Pressure building. That emotion you're suppressing because you think showing it makes you weak. Pressure building. That truth you're hiding because you're afraid of how people will react. Pressure building. Every day you hold it in, the pressure increases. And one day, something small will happen and you'll explode over something that doesn't even matter because you've been holding in everything that does. Here's what most people believe. If I just hold it together, the pressure will go away on its own. It won't. Pressure doesn't disappear. It either gets released in a controlled way or it explodes in a destructive way. Those are your only two options. Epictetus taught his students something uncomfortable. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. You know what that means in practice? Say the uncomfortable thing. Admit the truth, even if it makes you look weak. Let the pressure out, even if it's not pretty, because holding it in to look strong actually makes you weak. Here's your sixth repair. Every morning, release one piece of pressure. Say one uncomfortable truth, either to yourself or to someone else. Maybe it's admitting, I'm overwhelmed and I need help. Maybe it's telling someone, what you said yesterday hurt me. Maybe it's confessing to yourself, I'm scared and I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe it's having the conversation you've been avoiding for weeks. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be honest. You're not looking for a solution. You're not trying to fix everything. You're just letting some pressure out so it doesn't build to the point of explosion. Strong people don't hold everything in. Strong people know when to release pressure before it destroys them. There's a massive difference between emotional control and emotional suppression. One keeps you stable, the other keeps you on the edge of collapse. Let the pressure out, not because you're weak, because you're smart enough to know what happens when you don't. Number 7. Have a backup plan. You're living like nothing will ever go wrong. And that's why when something does go wrong, you completely fall apart. You have one plan, one path, one expectation, and you're emotionally invested in everything working out exactly the way you want it to. Then reality shows up. The plan fails, the path closes, the expectation shatters, and you have nothing, no backup, no alternative, no idea what to do next. So, you panic. The Stoics practiced something every morning that most people think is negative, but is actually the smartest thing you can do. They imagined things going wrong, not to torture themselves, to prepare themselves. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. And it gave them something most people never have, a backup plan before they needed one. Seneca would wake up and think, what if I lose my wealth today? What would I do? How would I respond? What if my friends betray me? What if my health fails? What if my plans collapse? He wasn't being pessimistic. He was being strategic, because when those things actually happened, and they did, he didn't fall apart. He already knew what to do. Think about a building with no emergency exits. Everything's fine until there's a fire. Then people die because there's no way out. Your life is the same. Everything feels fine until something goes wrong. And if you have no backup plan, no emergency exit, no alternative path, you're trapped. Here's what unprepared people do when things go wrong. They freeze, they panic, they make terrible decisions because they're operating in crisis mode with no plan. Meanwhile, prepared people stay calm, not because they're better people, because they already thought through this scenario. They already know their next move. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, plagues, betrayals, and constant crises. But he wrote something powerful. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Part of that power is preparing your mind for what could happen before it does. Here's your 7th repair. Every morning, think of one thing that could go wrong today. Just one. Then spend 30 seconds deciding what you'd do if it happened. What if the meeting goes badly? Already know how you'll respond. What if you don't get the answer you want? Already have plan B ready. What if someone says no? Already know what you'll do next. What if you fail? Already know how you'll recover. You're not manifesting problems. You're removing panic from the equation. Because when things go wrong, and they will, you won't have to figure out what to do while you're drowning. You'll already know. Backup plans aren't pessimistic. They're smart. And they're the difference between people who survive crises and people who get destroyed by them. Number 8. Clear the junk first. Your phone is on your nightstand. Your alarm goes off. And before your eyes are fully open, before you've taken a full breath, before you've had a single thought of your own, your hand reaches for it. And in that moment, you've lost the day. Within seconds, your mind is flooded. Emails, messages, news, other people's opinions, other people's problems, other people's emergencies. Your brain, which was fresh and clear 30 seconds ago, is now cluttered with information that has nothing to do with what you need to do today. The Stoics were obsessed with protecting their mornings, not because they were antisocial, because they understood something most people ignore. The first thoughts that enter your mind set the tone for everything that follows. Let garbage in first, and your whole day runs on garbage. Epictetus taught in a simple school with almost nothing in it. No luxuries, no distractions, no clutter, just the essential tools for learning. Why? Because he knew that a cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind, and a cluttered mind can't think clearly. Think about trying to work in a room filled with trash, papers everywhere, junk piled up, stuff covering every surface. You can't focus, you can't think, you can't create. Not because you're incapable, but because the environment is chaotic. Your mind works the same way. When you check your phone first thing, you're dumping trash into a clean space. You're cluttering your mind before you've had a chance to use it. That email stresses you out. That news article makes you angry. That social media post makes you feel inadequate. And now you're starting your day from a place of stress, anger, and inadequacy. Not because anything actually happened to you, because you voluntarily consumed other people's chaos. Here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to let the world into your head. You have a choice. You can protect your morning mind, keep it clear, and use it for what actually matters to you. Or you can hand it over to whoever screams the loudest on your phone. Here's your 8th repair. The first 30 minutes you're awake, nothing external gets access to your mind. No phone, no news, no social media, no emails, no other people's voices, just you. This will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will tell you you're missing something important. You're not. What you're actually doing is giving yourself 30 minutes where your thoughts are your own, where your mind is clear, where you can actually think instead of just reacting. Use those 30 minutes however you want. Sit in silence. Think. Plan your day. Read something meaningful. Move your body. It doesn't matter what you do as long as it's intentional and it's yours. The world will get access to your mind eventually, but not first. Not when your mind is at its clearest and most powerful. That time belongs to you. Type this declaration below. I protect my morning from noise. Number 9. Put good stuff in your head. You wouldn't eat garbage for breakfast and expect your body to perform well. So why do you feed your mind garbage and expect it to be healthy? The first thing you consume mentally sets the tone for how your mind operates all day. Feed it negativity and you'll think negatively. Feed it outrage and you'll be angry. Feed it comparison and you'll feel inadequate. Feed it fear and you'll be anxious. Your mind becomes what you feed it. Marcus Aurelius was incredibly careful about what he allowed into his mind. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He wasn't being poetic. He was being literal. Whatever you consume mentally colors everything else you think about afterward. Think about a water filter. Put clean water through it, and clean water comes out. Put contaminated water through it, and contamination comes out. Your mind is the same. The quality of what goes in determines the quality of what comes out. Input affects output, always. Here's what most people do. They start their day with junk, scrolling through social media, seeing everyone else's highlight reel, reading news designed to make them afraid and angry, consuming content that's entertaining but empty. And then they wonder why they feel scattered, anxious, and unmotivated. It's not a mystery. Garbage in, garbage out. The Stoics didn't waste their mental energy on useless information. Seneca would read philosophy every morning. Marcus Aurelius would reflect on Stoic principles before dealing with the chaos of ruling Rome. Epictetus would focus on teachings that made him stronger, not weaker. They were strategic about what they allowed into their minds because they knew it mattered. Here's your 9th repair. The first thing you read, listen to, or watch each morning must be something that makes you better. Not just entertained, better. Maybe it's reading something philosophical. Maybe it's listening to something educational. Maybe it's watching something that inspires you to grow. The specific content doesn't matter as much as the intention. You're feeding your mind quality instead of junk. This doesn't mean everything you consume has to be serious and heavy. It just means that the first input, the first food your mind gets, should be nutritious. You can have junk food later if you want, but don't start with it. Your mind will crave the junk at first. That's normal. It's been trained to expect it. But the more you feed it quality, the more it will start craving quality instead. You take care of your body by being careful about what you eat. Take care of your mind by being just as careful about what you consume mentally. Quality input creates quality thinking. Junk input creates junk thinking. It's that simple. Share this commitment in the comments. I feed my mind quality, not junk. Number 10. Test yourself on purpose. You avoid discomfort. You eliminate challenges. You take the easy path whenever it's available, and you wonder why you feel weak. Here's the truth. You don't know what you're capable of because you never test yourself. You stay inside your comfort zone, convincing yourself you're strong, but you have no proof, no evidence, no real test. And the moment life forces discomfort on you, you collapse because you've never practiced handling it. Musonius Rufus, one of the great Stoic teachers, had a philosophy that sounds crazy to modern people. He believed you should intentionally make your life harder, not because suffering is good, but because practicing discomfort prepares you for when discomfort is forced on you. He'd fast when he had food. He'd sleep on hard surfaces when he had a bed. He'd endure cold when he had warmth. Why? Training. Think about athletes. They don't wait until game day to find out if they're strong enough. They train. They push themselves. They test their limits in practice so they know what they can handle when it matters. Your mind works the same way. If you never test it, you have no idea if it's actually strong or just untested. Here's what untested strength looks like. Everything's fine until something hard happens. Then you break. Not because you're weak, but because you never practiced being strong. You never built the mental muscle. You never tested yourself under pressure. So when pressure arrives, you have nothing to draw from. The Stoics understood something modern comfort culture has forgotten. Comfort makes you weak. Not a little weak, dangerously weak. Every day you choose the easy path, you're training yourself to be someone who can't handle the hard path. And life doesn't care about your preference. It will give you hard whether you're ready or not. Here's your 10th repair. Every morning, do one thing that's uncomfortable on purpose. Not because you enjoy it, but because you're testing yourself. Take a cold shower even though warm is available. Do a hard workout even though you could skip it. Have a difficult conversation even though you could avoid it. Sit in silence even though you could distract yourself. Choose the harder option even though the easier one is right there. It doesn't have to be extreme. It just has to be harder than what you'd normally choose. You're not punishing yourself. You're training yourself. You're proving to your mind that discomfort doesn't equal danger, that you can handle hard things, that when life tests you, you'll be ready. Epictetus said, "Difficulties show what men are made of." But here's the key. If you never face difficulty intentionally, you won't know what you're made of until it's too late. Test yourself before life tests you. Build strength in practice so you have it when it matters. Number 11. Check for damage daily. You ignore small problems until they become massive disasters, and then you act surprised when everything falls apart. A small crack appears in your mental health, a little stress, a bit of anxiety, a moment of doubt. It's small, so you ignore it. You'll deal with it later. Then days pass. The crack spreads, the stress builds, the anxiety grows, the doubt becomes constant, and you're still ignoring it. Until one day, you're not dealing with a crack anymore. You're dealing with a collapse. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but every single day he checked in with himself. He'd write in his journal. He'd examine his thoughts. He'd assess his mental state. Not because he was weak or insecure, because he knew that small damage caught early is easy to fix. Small damage ignored becomes catastrophic. Think about a car. You don't drive it for years without checking the oil, the tires, the engine. You do regular maintenance because you know that small issues ignored become expensive repairs. Your mind needs the same maintenance. But most people never check. They just keep driving until the engine blows. Here's what people do instead of maintenance. They wait for crisis. They ignore every warning sign, every small problem, every early symptom. Then, when they're completely broken down, they finally pay attention. And fixing a complete breakdown is 1,000 times harder than maintaining along the way. The Stoics practiced daily self-examination, not to judge themselves, not to beat themselves up, to catch problems early. Seneca would review his day every evening, asking, "What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What needs to change?" He was doing maintenance. Here's your 11th repair. At the end of your morning, before you fully step into your day, do a quick check-in. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. What did I repair this morning? Look at what you've fixed, what damage you've addressed, what you've improved. What's starting to crack? Look for early warning signs, small stress, growing worry, beginning doubt. Catch it now while it's small. What needs attention today? Identify one thing that needs maintenance, one area that's weakening, one problem that's developing. This takes 2 minutes, maybe less. But those 2 minutes can prevent a breakdown that takes months to recover from. Because when you catch damage early, repair is simple. When you ignore it until it's massive, repair is overwhelming. Most people only pay attention to their mental health when it's in crisis. That's like only paying attention to your car when it breaks down on the highway. By then, you're stranded, you're stuck, you're in emergency mode. Do maintenance, check for damage, Catch problems early, not because you're paranoid, but because you're smart. Number 12. Build something that lasts. Everything you're doing right now is temporary. The email you're stressed about won't matter next week. The meeting you're worried about will be forgotten in a month. The problem that feels massive today will be irrelevant in a year. You're spending your entire life on things that don't last. And that's why you feel empty. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He was the most powerful man in the world, but he knew that his power was temporary. His empire would fade. His decisions would be forgotten. His name would eventually mean nothing. So he focused on one thing that could last: his thoughts. He wrote them down every morning, not for publication, not for fame, for permanence. And 2,000 years later, his words still help people. That's what lasts. Think about your typical morning. You wake up, you react to emails, you deal with other people's problems, you put out fires, you handle emergencies. And by the end of the day, what do you have? Nothing permanent, nothing that builds, nothing that lasts beyond today. You spent your energy, but you built nothing. Here's what the Stoics knew that most people forget. Temporary work feels empty because it is empty. You can work hard on temporary things your entire life and die with nothing to show for it. But permanent work, work that builds something lasting, gives your life weight, meaning, legacy. Seneca wrote letters that people still read today. Epictetus taught lessons that still guide people centuries later. Marcus wrote reflections that still strengthen minds 2 millennia afterward. They built things that outlasted their bodies, their empires, their era. That's what matters. You don't have to write philosophy. You don't have to create something famous. But you do have to create something that lasts longer than today. Something that builds. Something that matters beyond this morning's to-do list. Here's your 12th repair. Every morning, do one thing that creates something permanent. Not just consumption, not just reaction. Creation. Maybe you write something, even one paragraph, even a journal entry that helps you think clearly. Maybe you teach someone something valuable that they'll carry with them. Maybe you build a skill that compounds over time. Maybe you create something with your hands that will exist after today. Maybe you help someone in a way that changes their trajectory. It doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be permanent. Something that if you did it every morning for a year, would result in something real, something built, something lasting. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Your life is your philosophy. And if your life is spent entirely on temporary things, your philosophy is that nothing matters. But if you build something permanent every single day, your philosophy becomes, I was here, I mattered, I built something that lasts." Tomorrow morning, before you dive into temporary tasks and urgent emails, ask yourself, what am I building today that will still exist next year? Then build that first. Leave this legacy statement below. I build something lasting every day. Your mind breaks a little every day. That's not a flaw. That's reality. Life damages you. Stress cracks you. Worry wears you down. Failure leaves marks. That's just what happens when you're alive and trying. The difference between people who thrive and people who barely survive isn't that thriving. People don't get damaged. It's that they repair the damage every single morning before it piles up, before it becomes too much, before they collapse under the weight of unaddressed problems. These 12 repairs are simple, not easy, but simple. Throw out yesterday's trash, check your foundation, fix small problems early, remove what's poisoning you, decide what you won't compromise, let pressure out, have backup plans, clear the junk first, feed your mind quality, test yourself on purpose, check for damage daily, build something permanent. The Stoics weren't superhuman. They faced the same damage you face, maybe worse. Wars, slavery, exile, betrayal, death. But they understood something most people never learn. You either repair your mind every morning or you let it crumble. You don't have to do all 12 tomorrow. Start with 3. The 3 that hit hardest. The 3 your mind needs most. Master those. Then add more when you're ready. Your mind is worth repairing. You are worth the effort. And every morning is a chance to fix what's broken before it breaks you. If this video helped, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment with which repair you need most. Share this with someone whose mind is breaking. Subscribe, because we're here to build you up, not just entertain you. Marcus Aurelius wrote every morning because he knew you have power over your mind, not outside events. Use that power. Repair your mind. Build yourself stronger. Tomorrow morning, start the repairs. Your mind is waiting. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I fix my mind every single morning.